happened a few days ago, there's no excuse for it. We don't train that way. I don't know of any law enforcement agency that trains.
Yours does it. I've watched them do it. I've watched them choke men in handcuffs. They were not resisting on the side of the road. Charlotte and Punta Gorda. I've watched it numerous of times. So it does do it. They do it. I've watched them throw men. I've watched them choke them while in handcuffs. No way to do anything on the ground being choked.
Okay, well, that's stuff we need to know about.
How do they voice themselves if you're already like they're a criminal? They already did this. You're really gonna listen to this dude, this guy up, this thug up in here? That's how they're addressed. So that's why they're not coming. So that's what we need to find out. You're saying come, but they can't come. So what's the other solution? Because that solution doesn't work.
Well, you're saying that they don't
They
come.
can't. That's why they're not there. You would have
They're
1,000
not here
reports.
either. You're their voice. So if you saw it or you heard it, you can come forward and be their voice.
Yeah, and then have the cop do something.
Okay, so.
You know,
so
if
what
we're
is-
going to go back and forth like this, we're not going to get
But
a
that's
solution.
what's happening.
But we're
That's
not
the
going to have a
problem.
solution. Now you're saying you don't want to come forward because now I'm going to target you. I don't
No.
target people.
No, not you. I didn't say you. I'm saying that's how they are. If a cop pulls somebody over and they feel like going above their head and telling on them, that person now has to worry about if you don't fire them, that cop is going to be on their ass all the time, looking for trouble. That's what happens. I'm
I
watching it.
understand.
It
But
happens.
I can also
It happens.
tell you that
It's
I do not stand for any type
Publicly
Oh.
say that.
I'm public to say I'm being filmed right now.
But see, that's what we already.
I don't stand for any of that, and just a few months ago, I fired somebody for one word that they said, because I don't tolerate it.
What's the protocol for accountability? Are we
Yeah.
able, as a citizen, to file a report, to make a complaint? What's the protocol? Can we list that on
We
all of
even
our
let you
community
guys
sites?
do it via,
It's-
anybody
Is
can
there
file
a
it via
name of
email
a
if they wanted to.
sheet?
If you're worried about coming in,
Is there a name of a form, a sheet? What's the title of it? What do we
it's
ask for?
right on our website.
What's it called?
It's our complaint form.
A complaint form?
Citizen
Now,
complaint form.
A citizen
Now,
complaint?
ours is a citizen complaint.
That's a start.
form.
Okay,
You can
so
go on
there's
the
awareness.
internet, you can contact any one of our commanders that are district officers, you can contact Internal Affairs directly.
Okay, but I'll say this too as well. Sometimes the complaints are being filed, and that officer has a past history of profiling and stuff already, and they're still killing the people on the news and everything. We have friends that I went to high school with, he went to high school, that are actually cops that play in our flag football league that my uncle runs around here, and he's warned us of dirty cops. He's told me specific names. If this cop pulls you over,
Multiple times.
blah, blah,
Call
blah,
me.
call me. And these are other cops that's warning us that are
Is this
Spanish.
recently? 'Cause we need to have a
Within
conversation with
years,
these
yes,
cops also.
within
All
years.
the time, this happens all the
Within,
time.
happens all the time. Within years, we have multiple people in high school with our cops, and they would warn us of other cops.
And that's what, I mean, you just said that bad apple thing, and I was trying to bite my tongue to let you finish. But that's what gets me is this idea of the bad apple. If there was such a thing, then where are the good cops? Where would be the good cops? And why is it that I always get the bad apple? How is it that the
How many
bad
bad apples
apple
you got?
is the only one that we end up encountering? Like, it can't be that there's one bad apple for every one good cop. Because
No,
if that was the
no,
case,
no.
I would have, at least by statistics, for the amount that I be pulled over, by the amount that they interact with me, by the amount that they come at me, I would have at least had one conversation with at least one of them. But you're telling me that the bad apple is the only one that England Desmond Bowman can get? I don't believe that. So if you're telling me that there's a problem with the bad apple, then the bad apple is learning it from somewhere. And if there's not someone teaching it, then why isn't everyone reporting it? Why isn't there a line? Why are you sitting here telling people that you just fired one person for a word? Like a word can do something. You can call me every name in the book, sir, and I will not come at you. But you telling me you can reach for your gun because I go for my cell phone? Come on, you can't believe me. I get out of the car one day at an ice cream shop, and Charlotte County Sheriff's Department has to unbuckle his gun holster and tell me to get back in the car because he thinks I'm selling drugs outside of an ice cream shop that's packed, Sweet Scoops. Outside of Sweet Scoops on a weekend. I'm selling drugs? Am I the stupidest drug dealer in the world? I'm selling drugs with the cops right outside? He's pulling his gun out on me.
Calm down.
There's no way to be calm. I lived in Port Charlotte for
I
20 years.
understand what
20
you're saying,
years.
but
20 years.
you would
I'm
be
sitting down. This is the
surprised-
calmest I can
You would be
be.
very surprised at some of the stuff we see and some of the stupidity of the criminals that are around there. And yes, somebody will deal drugs right in front of a cop. I've seen it. I've dealt with it. Okay? I don't know what happened with you. And no, one of the things you need to remember too is there are hundreds of thousands of citizen law enforcement contacts that happen each and every day that nobody ever hears about because everything went right. We hear about the stuff like we heard about the other day that went seriously wrong, or lots of times there's perception. And you talk about cell phones, and that's kind of a pet peeve of mine too. And we need to somewhat hold some of these manufacturers accountable. Because do you know that they make a cell phone gun?
Yeah.
Do you know they make a gun that looks like a pen?
But how many people
And-
actually carry a cell phone gun around? Like that's beyond the point because a regular person's not walking around with a cell phone gun in their pocket. Let's just say
But you
a
gotta,
scenario.
but you gotta remember too, that everybody we encounter, we don't know them.
I understand that, but
Who here has a cell phone gun? So here, not one person, I guarantee
It's
you.
probably gonna be one out of every 10,000 that have.
But not one person.
But
here has-
we can, listen,
There
guys,
are. We're not saying that there aren't. We're not
right,
saying
see,
that there
here's what's
aren't.
happening, we're going back and forth now. Again.
No, I have
One
a
of the things that
scenario.
was,
I have
well,
a
one of the things that
scenario.
was mentioned, just really quick, that I think is phenomenal, is you guys mentioned, you know, are there any ordinances or resolutions that maybe can happen, right? Now, I'm speaking from a city level, right? As a city commissioner, this is something that we can get together. We can speak with our city manager, speak with our chief in Northport, and I'm sure, you know, everybody here is willing to do that. Come together and figure out what those things need to look like. But come together so we can see from both perspectives, because as the Sheriff Primmel said, you know, they see things that I don't see, right? You know, and so we need to take into account the very things that they deal with, along with the things that you guys are dealing with on a daily basis that I don't recognize because of who I am, right? And I think that is a place where we can maybe even begin, right? Is sitting down with these things. And I have some cards out in my truck, and I'm going to bring them back to you. And then we can get together. I would even suggest getting together with you guys this week or next week and sitting down with this. You know, because we have some meetings coming up where we can discuss this among our board.
And some other things that I was thinking about is, would you guys be willing to do ride-alongs with our officers? And there's a couple things, reasons why. You can see their perspective, they can hear what you have to say.
Could
And
I
it's a
do
good
something like
dialogue.
that?
I'm sorry?
Could I do something like that?
Yes.
I own a digital media agency
Yes.
in Port Charlotte, so I'd be the
My
perfect
captain's
person to
here,
do
he
that
is the
on,
one that
so.
will schedule all that stuff. But
Okay.
it is a great opportunity for our officers to hear exactly what you're talking about, and you can actually put it into practice when they're out there doing the calls.
I've done enough ride-alongs for no reason at all.
No, I don't want
In the front seat, in the front seat.
So, but I have a question though. So, I asked about, you know, future ordinances and policies that can be put in place to prevent things of this nature. So, I would like to ask, what is the current
Yes.
policy for an officer that is found of racial profiling and things of that nature?
I terminate.
You terminate.
I terminate. I
Okay,
don't
so
tolerate
what?
it anymore.
So have you guys thought about having cameras, wearing cameras, body cams for this area?
Yeah, I've thought about wearing cameras. Cameras tend to get expensive, and it's, well, not necessarily the cameras, but it's the storage part of it. And I'm going to be honest with you on this. The cameras are a great tool when it comes to gathering evidence and things of that nature. But when cameras became popular several years ago, it was because we have to babysit the police.
Yes.
I don't believe that. That's not what the cameras are for. The cameras are to gather evidence. Now, that evidence could be against the perpetrator that the law enforcement officer is dealing with, or in fact, it could be against that law enforcement officer. But cameras shouldn't be put on an agency just to babysit the law enforcement. That's not what
They
they're
need
there for.
babysitters.
Okay, so listen to what I'm saying.
So we are going
If
with
you,
cameras. just so
if
know.
you,
You are what?
We are getting body worn cameras. It's
Okay.
And the city of Northport.
You guys
has
are getting
pur-
body cameras?
And the city of
That's
Northport
great. That's great.
purchased
So
several.
for your county, would you be comfortable if you're saying the county can't afford it at the moment? It's too pricey.
Yeah, because
right?
you're talking
very
about.
expensive.
It's a lot of money. I
But
understand.
the
if
cameras aren't,
people-
the cameras aren't so much, it's the storage and all that stuff, so you're talking about $2 to $3 million a year just in storage.
Some of that storage you have to keep indefinitely.
We have to keep, evidence is one thing, but just in general, we have to keep records for 10 years. And you know how much space
video takes, so it is
what
something
You
that.
guys are telling me
What I'm
something
saying-
that I do for a living, so.
Thank you.
If you're gonna make an excuse
So
for
to give you
that,
an
that's-
example, the city of
that's-
Northport
that's
purchased
nonsense.
10
So you're
cameras
saying you can't afford that.
at
You'd rather.
almost a $500,000.
So you're telling me this, hold on, listen. You're telling me you'd rather not have the facts and the actual evidence and the actual video because it's too expensive. You'd rather just say, let me get the word of mouth from a cop or whoever else.
So we're
I'm not telling you
privatizing.
that, but I have to operate within a budget. Our economy, our demographics here in Charlotte County are much different than Sarasota and Lee. We
Well,
don't
that's
have
why
as much money coming
started,
in.
They're
I
friends.
started to
You guys
say,
are friends.
if
You
the
have to be able
people,
to help each other out, shouldn't you?
if the people came together
That's not
and
how it works.
donated,
No.
sir,
I'm sorry.
we started off, if the people came together and donated enough for you to purchase a certain amount of body cams, so you're saying it's in the budget, right? Then that means you won't have to purchase the body cams anymore because the community has already purchased it for you. Now that funds that you were gonna purchase the body cam with can go towards your storage for a year.
Not only that,
The price of the
There are
cameras
ways
is
to get around it,
compared
though.
to the price of the storage.
I feel like there are ways to get around it. Our lives,
I don't get it.
Are way
See, that's
more.
another
It
misnomer.
be
Everybody thinks that the money from citations and court fees and all that comes right
I
back to
didn't
the
say
sheriff's office.
citations, no. We
No,
pay
I'm
for our
just-
own
I'm-
court fees
no,
for our
I'm-
probation officers. We pay fees for things that we access and use. The fees could possibly be incorporated in what people are paying.
Can I say
But
something,
there are
please?
also laws that designate where the
the
fees
state
are
of
broken up
Florida
and gone
does
to. That's why I was
regulate
saying, like with the citations, a lot of people think that we write the citations to augment our budget. 1% of a citation goes back to law enforcement, and it's strictly for training
No, we're not
purposes.
talking about that. We're talking about the fees each criminal gets
I know.
applied upon
It's
them.
the same,
specifically.
it's the
It's
same
not a
thing.
citation.
Those fees
Charges.
go to designated areas.
That, so we could designate an area for this particular
It's
reason.
designated by statute. You have to change the law.
Okay.
Okay, so,
And
And that's absolutely an idea, absolutely.
I had a question about a point that you put a while ago. I just didn't want to interrupt anybody. Okay, you said that officers don't need babysitting. Okay, so what I'm saying is, from your side, you're saying that they don't need it, but your whole community is right here, and we're saying just the opposite. And that's where we hit walls.
You're talking about
You understand what I'm
budget.
saying?
I'm talking
You're
about
talking
our
about a
lives.
budget, and we're talking about our lives. You're prioritizing money over our lives. You literally just said that.
Multiple times.
I've never
In
been
multiple
arrested.
different ways.
I've never been arrested, but I've watched
That's
it
not
happen
the
with
way-
police officers.
That is
Multiple
exactly the
times.
way.
But what I'm
What is
trying
your
to
first
explain to
job?
you- but
What
what I'm
is
trying-
your first?
my first
What is your
job
first
is to protect the
responsibility?
public. To protect
Okay,
the public.
so the first, if we're telling you that the only way we will feel protected is if every time we encounter someone like you guys
Who's wearing a gun?
who is wearing a gun and is mostly pointed at us every time, is to have a camera.
We feel endangered.
So if you keep saying that there's no need, this town is gonna end up like everywhere else, bro. We're not hitting, we're not,
very
there's no
different than
middle
everybody
ground.
else because we can come together and we can talk like this. We are, Charlotte County is a very different community than a lot of other places.
we don't want to talk.
Because of us, right here, right now, we trying to be positive.
You guys didn't
And you
reach out
still,
to us.
yeah,
They didn't reach
come
out
on,
to us.
man, come on, man.
We
With all
tolerate
due
it.
respect, you said that, you said the bad apple phrase, but one apple really means you got all bad apples because they're not even
That's
checking
not
them.
true.
Yes, it is, but I have the floor right now. So while I have the floor, I'm gonna talk. We're here to negotiate and try to make terms, but I'm gonna speak just like they're gonna speak, and you might not agree with me, but that's okay, because I'm gonna tell you how I feel and how they feel. So they do need babysitters, and there's no accountability, and you're taking a one-sided story every time against men and women that are innocent a lot of the times, or they instigate a lot of shit, and they get away with it, and there's no accountability. So if you can't afford cameras, these are people that you hire to represent you. We vote for you, and you can't represent enough people. We elect you into position, and you hire people to represent you.
Hey, I'm
The
gonna go
people you
grab
are
some
hiring
cards.
are going out there acting like
No,
uncouth,
Oh, okay.
uncivil racists.
Okay.
They're putting people in your town, in your community at risk, and your community consists of more than white people. It consists of a lot of black and Spanish people and mixed people, and they're being racially profiled. They're being attacked. They're being zoomed in on all the time. They're being scrutinized. I see more cops in this neighborhood than I see in any other neighborhood in Charlotte County. And I've drove through a lot of neighborhoods throughout the country. I'm telling you, they really are always looking for something. And I get it, that's what you gotta do. So they're doing what they gotta do too. So if you can't afford to babysit the people you hire to represent you, then we need to elect someone else into office that will protect their people and micromanage their employees. You hire them, you're responsible for them, not us. That's something you have to do. And if your employees are out here acting like that, then maybe it's time to get some new ones or new training or make them go through racist classes or something. And they need to be held accountable. You need to be putting them through tests. If they show that they have racism, they need to be gone because those bad apples are putting us in the same situation as Minneapolis, Tampa, and Miami. And this is the way we're trying to avoid
all
that.
around us.
Yeah.
All around us.
We're trying to stop
all around us.
This is us trying
All around
to,
us.
this is us trying to negotiate. This is nothing personal. This is your job, just like this is my job. When you go home, you're a full dude, I get it. But when it's your job, this is your job. We've trusted you as our town sheriff. And we trust that whoever you hire is going to protect and represent the people of this community. But if they're not doing that, and there's so many bad apples that every black person in town feels scared when they're pulled over if they're gonna die, then it's time to start reorganizing. It's time to start micromanaging these employees. Because if you can't do it, someone else will. That's what voting is for.
Tampa area, they will provide free cameras. Because and I personally work in a field where we have family members come in and our facility has cameras to watch what's going on. It's not so much that they think that somebody's doing something wrong, but just in case there's an accident. It protects you as well as it protects the public, because now we feel eyes. And I'm gonna point this out only because every officer I walked past that I was coming in, going out back to my car, greeted me and said hello. But there was one officer that went around everybody and the perception is I don't wanna talk to them. When I deal with people on the job, I'm taking care of patients. Sometimes we have irate family members. I may not have been there that day, but they come in, they're yelling, they're cussing at me. I look at them and smile. My grandmother always taught me, you smile at the world and the world smiles back at you. And I say to them, I'm sorry for what you experienced, but how can I help you today? Whatever I can do to make things right, that's what I'm gonna do. I've worked for Tyrell before and I was all around in this area. I'm here today to support, basically to support everybody, but he called me because I am an advocate. I advocate for wrongdoings. I've been stopped multiple times by the police, and 9 times out of 10, I get a warning. But I get a warning because of my response. I want to know why I've been stopped. If you're about to have a body cam, last year I was in court because I was told I was speeding. I had just got off of work. I was at a stop sign. I came up. I knew he didn't catch me. I wasn't speeding. I knew that, and I knew why he stopped. And I took it to court, and I won. We do feel unsafe when we're stopped. I'm a nurse and I drive. If the cops get behind me, I guarantee you, if you attach a pulse ox, report your PO2 and your pulse to everybody riding around in the vehicle right now, and if we weren't here with y'all, their pulse would raise up when a cop gets behind them. Because you get nervous. It's not saying that all cops are bad, because we do know that I got friends and family members that are cops. We do know all cops are not bad. But it's just like when they say if you stand and you allow something to happen, you don't do anything about it, then it's the perception that everything is bad. When I'm at work, if one of my aides does something wrong, I'm responsible for it. My supervisor doesn't want to hear, I was at the bathroom or I was taking care of so-and-so's wound. I'm micromanaging. I'm responsible for micromanaging. What she said about education is the key. We as nurses are taught the basic cultural, we're taught the basics about cultural
Diversity.
right. And
We're required to do cultural diversity training every year.
it may need
How
to be
many
a little
hours
bit
every
more
year?
in-depth.
Reorganized and rewritten. You guys might need someone else to come in and rewrite it, especially if it was written by and taught by someone it doesn't even affect. They don't even know what racism is because they've never been exposed to it, so how can they teach someone how to not racially profile?
It's
How
a
much
curriculum
training?
that came down from the state every
But
year.
how much every year?
1 hour, 2 hours every year, how much every year?
2
The
hours.
training's not working.
2 hours
You need
every
new
year.
So,
training.
for example, hold on. Just like you guys have
Well,
offered
you guys
that-
gotta remember
Need
that
new
we've got
training.
a lot of required training we have to do every year. And if you're talking about trying to require us to do 8 hours
It
of
was just a
training for
question.
everything. No, I'm just trying to explain to you the world of law enforcement because we have a lot of misunderstandings too. We have a lot of required training that we must do every year.
As nurses and therapists, we
Exactly.
do as well. I can
And if-
understand and
if
relate.
This training is extended out. If you don't find a way to condense it some, you'll never see law enforcement on the street because they'll be in the classroom all the time.
Okay,
And
you have a
every
focus
year, there
set.
seems to be new trainings that are required on us every year.
We didn't say 2 hours wasn't enough. We asked what
is incorporated in those 2 hours of the
Well,
training.
some
If
people
we
giggled-
affect
some
that,
people
can we
giggled
change
when I
that?
said 2 hours.
I'm sorry?
Some people giggled when I said 2 hours, so.
Oh, I didn't hear that, I'm sorry. But according to the 2 hours, we're talking about what's involved in that training currently. Can that be something that's assessed? Who is in charge of that?
That's a curriculum that comes down from the state.
So it's equivalent,
So we're focused on solutions, so how do we change it?
yes.
The
Who do
solution
you
is,
talk
what do
to?
we do to change it right now with our community and our people, right here, right now? How can we take steps to change your training, because it's not working?
I would ask what your recommendation would be, because the makeup of the training is more important than the number of hours, in my opinion.
Yes,
What's in the
agreed.
training. So I would love to have ideas from you guys, and then that process would go basically to a state rep. We'd find a Senate sponsor, and then we could move it through that way, just like I did the contractor fraud bill last session. So I'm happy to do that, but I would like to have what you guys think is the answer and how we put it together. And then if it's 3 hours, 2 hours, or 4 hours, it's the content of that course that's the most important.
Absolutely.
And so I would want to know what you guys think is, and how it goes together.
Sorry,
Yeah, no, it's
sorry.
okay.
So, I'm new to Punta Gorda. I got here almost 3 years ago now. I was Anne Arundel County, Maryland for 24 years, then went to Baltimore to help them with reform right after the riots up in Baltimore, okay? I was in charge of the training academy there for reform. So I brought a lot of that with me here, and we've started instituting it. And, you know, the sheriff's right, we have a certain amount that was required. So I took it a little bit step further for our department and started requiring it to be a monthly training. We just did 6 hours of COPS. It is two courses from COPS. One was Changing Perspectives, which talks about fair and impartial policing, talks about procedural justice, giving a voice, basing your opinions on the fact, neutrality, can't say that fast enough. And the other one was the community policing aspect. So we just hired an employee development coordinator that's going to focus solely on training. So we're kind of lucky there because it's a civilian position, whereas before it was a sworn position that was pulled in a bunch of different directions. And I know, you know, that happens with every agency. So a lot of this stuff, and we've been sharing this with the sheriff, and they're putting some of that in place at their agency too. So we don't want to get focused on one little thing that is racial profiling, the 2 hour or something like that. We put together different things that can incorporate all that kind of stuff. Yes, sir.
Okay, so I feel like that, again, there's one major thing. You know, if I'm punished, you know what I'm saying, and they hit my pocket,
Yes.
Yeah.
and I can't pay my
Amen.
bills for the
Amen.
for that next week, if I can't pay my rent, if I can't pay my water, if I can't pay my electric, that's the biggest training, more than watching any racial
We
videos.
generally, you know, what they get is leave without pay. So imagine going 5 days without any pay.
But that-
So it
that's-
is taking away from
That's
their pocket.
unseen money. That's unseen
They
money.
should be charged with that crime and everything.
Well,
Yeah,
how would you hold those cops responsible that did that? What would you do?
just like they're being charged.
Third degree, you would still do,
I would,
push for third?
well, what happens is you consult with the state attorney, we do that here. I've learned a lot about
That's not-
Florida, I come from Maryland, and it was a little different system.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of consultation with our state attorney when we have charges, and they tell us what the right charges are, because the one thing you don't wanna do is go to court and lose, because then you can't charge them again. So keep that double jeopardy thing in
Yeah,
mind.
definitely.
So we do a lot of consultation, so I don't know what happened up there, but the one thing the sheriff and I do.
You don't know what happened?
I mean, I don't know why they charged what they charged, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
third degree.
I don't know if they called, I don't know if they called the state attorney. I know you're
Yeah.
defensive right now, so.
Yeah, 'cause third degree is like
um,
nothing.
But we have a good relationship with our state attorney's office, and we do a lot of consultation with them when it comes to charging, because we want them to stick,
Yeah.
so.
What about you? If you were in that situation, how would you
It was
handle
one of
it
your
as far as
officers.
if it was one of your officers?
Well, it's kind of the same thing. We'd investigate it. And you gotta remember, they charge him with third degree. That doesn't mean that later the state or district attorney can't change it.
They could change.
That happens all the time as
Stick to
as the investigation continues and more evidence is identified. Like with here, when we have a homicide investigation, we don't necessarily go for first degree murder right off the bat. We have to go in front of a grand jury, present the evidence, and then they decide, yeah, you have enough to go proceed with first degree murder.
Correct.
So, depending on what happens here, we could start off with a third degree, we could start off with a second degree, but it's very unusual to go right to first degree. And you gotta remember too, that we have to be careful, because like you said, we got one shot at the apple. And if we make an arrest right off the bat, and we really don't have a really strong case, and they filed for a speedy trial under the Sixth Amendment, the clock's running. And if we can't bring it to trial by the time that clock runs out, they're done, it's over, and we don't get a second bite. So we have to be very careful with the investigation. We have to be able to collect our evidence. We have to feel comfortable. The state has to feel comfortable that they have enough evidence to proceed. Because if they don't feel there's enough evidence, they will drop the case. And there's different standards too. We can arrest on what's called probable cause. That means there's enough cause to believe that a crime was committed. Now when it goes to the state, they have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, which is a higher burden of proof. So that's why, just because we make an arrest here of probable cause, doesn't mean the investigation's over, because we need to help the state get to this level.
Okay, so again, the policy in place right now isn't working. Okay, 5 days leave and without pay. If I don't go to work for the next 5 days, I ain't getting paid. You know what I'm saying? That's nothing.
Well, you mentioned hitting the pocket, so I told you that's why I was mentioning that.
So, yeah.
And it depends on the type, what we have in our investigation, what the actual charge was, what policy they violated, and things like that, will increase the punishment or up to termination, like the sheriff mentioned.
Okay, but termination. I want to know what petitions are you guys looking for right now to start to make a change? Because as we said, nothing is changing.
Well, I can say for me,
So I've had to do it before. My kids would stop. My boys would stop taking one of my daughter's friends home, and they felt uncomfortable. Guns were pulled out on them, and I called. My kids are taught, and I'm quite sure most of the parents here that are African American tell their children. I tell my children, if you're stopped by the police, you call me, and that's because I fear for their life. And I don't care who it is. If you're stopped by the police, you call me. And they stay on the phone with me. They have me on speakerphone. If I hear the wrong terminology or if I hear aggressiveness, I dial the non-emergency number and I explain what's going on.
Saying
And
how
they
the
send other
supervisor
officers,
goes,
yes.
yep.
And I ask for a supervisor to go here. Are y'all okay with that kind of
That is
stuff happening?
100%.
That's our policy. If somebody on the scene or somebody calls and they say they want a supervisor on scene, the supervisor must respond. If the supervisor doesn't respond after being requested, then they need to answer to me.
What's gonna happen if an officer gets physical with somebody in handcuffs? It's a
It would be
criminal.
excessive
and
force.
It'd be an
It would be,
excessive
it
force.
would be a criminal charge, right, not suspension.
It could
Could
very
be a
well be.
criminal charge, yes.
But it could be if they hit the cop too, or it will be. If it will be, if I hit you, but you can hit me and it's different, then it's not fair.
Well,
and we're not
just
creating
because
a
they're in
solution.
handcuffs, what if they're kicking?
If they're not, I'm
And
saying if
the
they're not
officer-
resisting,
I know, so
like
we could
George
what if it
Floyd,
is- I
'cause
guess
we're
what I'm getting at is
talking
we
about
could
George
what
Floyd
if it.
and what happened and these
So,
people getting
yeah.
attacked.
Yeah, you're
and they're
gonna
not
what if
being
thing,
violated.
we can what if
It's
things
not what
all
if they're being
day.
attacked when they're in handcuffs now, right here in your county, under your jurisdiction, under your name. The people you hire are coming in, bullying these people and pushing them around and putting their hands on them when they're in handcuffs and not resisting and their hands are up. They're still getting thrown around. They're still getting choked. This is why we're here, because this is not changing and whatever you're doing isn't working. So what's gonna happen? Are you gonna hold these officers
well,
accountable if they do this?
Again, you're saying they're handcuffed and you're saying their hands are up, so you're
If
changing
they're
the
handcuffed,
scenario.
no, I'm not. I'm giving you examples.
saying they're not violating.
You're trying to
They're
argue.
not
That's what you
If
want to
they're-
do is argue, but you can
No, I
argue
don't wanna
yourself.
argue, but you're changing the story a
No,
little
I'm
bit.
giving you
If
examples.
somebody,
You're not following me
if
because
we
you don't
get a
want to follow
report,
me.
if we get a report.
She doesn't want to follow. He
If
doesn't
we
want
get
to
a
follow.
report of an unnecessary or unreasonable use of force, we investigate it.
With no
If we
cameras.
can prove it, if we
The cop's
prove
gonna
it,
tell you he did it.
depending on the level,
The cop's gonna admit he
they
did
can
it?
be charged.
No. What cop's gonna say he did it? Yeah, I beat that guy up over there after I arrested him.
Go ahead.
So you were he had an answer for his question.
Yeah, I wanted to hear his answer.
well, you asked what can we do
Change.
right now to make change. I think what you're doing here right now. I think making change overnight is going to be difficult because we have an entire system that's 200,
one's asking for that.
yeah, 50 years old that that you have to beat your head against the wall to get through. That being said, you guys made a change in 48 hours. Look at this. This is phenomenal. And I mean, I applaud you all for coming together in like mind and in unison. I think, what I would expect is I gave each one of you guys my numbers. I don't have yours. I expect you to call me this week. I expect it. Because I've already told my city manager that I was coming. I told my chief of police that I was going to be here to talk with you guys, to speak with with our other officials, that we sit with. And I expect that phone call, because without that phone call, I'm not going to be able to sit with you guys. I'm not going to be able to get my city manager with you guys. I'm going to be able to sit down with my chief of police with you guys to formulate something that I think could be meaningful and I think that is where things need to begin. I think what everybody here has said, even Mr. Truex here, was we can take things to our state officials. These are things you guys don't have the relationships with. Guys, you don't have those relationships with that we all do, right? But we can have relationship with you, and we can take that relationship with us. And I think those are things that we can do to move forward.
That is the current system, though.
One thing that I will say is.
Well, but
Go
what
ahead,
you
go ahead.
are saying to me is that people aren't doing that for you.
When we come with the complaints. you can
Right,
turn away
and this is
shun
what
away
I'm
at the
saying.
right- yeah.
This is what I'm saying. I gave you my personal cell phone number.
Absolutely.
Right.
Call from here.
So I expect that phone call. Without a phone call, I
Your
won't be able to.
position has the power to do that.
Right, and that's
Put
what
those
I'm
actions
saying.
in play.
Yeah, well, all of us do. And I think every one of us showing up here today shows that we want to.
But that's not how it works. There's a certain person who has the potential and the capability. What is that person?
What I'll say is simple. What you're doing, the way you're talking, it resonates. What my man's over here is doing is not resonating.
I think everybody would agree. Everybody would agree here.
Yes.
I would have,
Everybody
and I would
would
say,
agree.
I promise you, I know Bill very well, and this is not any intent, I assure you. Both Bill. Both Bill, sorry.
But sir, listen.
We don't know. Not Pete Bill.
Lay off the pink bill.
Every
Not the way
question
I
that
want
was asked, you responded with a different scenario, a different situation, not a solution. 3 different questions that were asked, you responded with a different answer. You talked about something different than what we asked about. And you accused her of being defensive. I didn't
then
get
another
that
thing,
feel.
another
You
thing.
felt that she was defensive, passionate. We're all passionate, everyone that's here.
I
feels that
understand
way.
that, and I don't need to come across as negative. What I'm trying to explain to you, though, is there's a lot of perception and misperception. I
agree.
can't put myself in your shoes.
We
I'm not
agree.
gonna deny it. I can't
We
put myself
agree.
in- But
We agree.
you also don't stand in our shoes, and we see a lot of things differently. So we have to somehow try to
But this
figure
is
out
our
how-
platform. We get your platform every day.
Can I
We've
ask
got
one
you here to
question?
tell you our perspective, and you're telling us yours. You tell it every day.
But I'm trying, and I guess I apologize for not coming across right, but what I'm trying to do is just explain to you the law enforcement and what our responsibilities, duties, training is required of us.
Okay, so I have one question. How many officers here have been at the end of a gun here in Port Charlotte by somebody?
Ever.
All of them included, officers, sheriffs included.
That are here today?
That are here today, and you had a gun pointed at
The
us.
end of a gun here in
Just
Charlotte
drawn
County.
on
Just
them.
someone having a gun in your
One
presence.
drawn on
And
you
there's record
here
of
in Port Charlotte.
I just shot at, so.
Okay,
Okay,
we got 3.
it's good.
We
The
got
amount of
3.
people, that's a lot better than nothing.
Now, anybody out here who's had a gun drawn on them or shot at them, raise your hand.
Yikes.
Not by an officer.
Yikes.
But I've had one.
You know what I'm
Not by an
saying?
officer.
And for no reason at all. And for no reason at all. That's what we're talking about. So you saying that people don't need babysitters? Everybody here telling you they need babysitters,
And
bro.
what's sad is every time I see someone pulled over, I see multiple cars. So there's always witnesses when this thing happens, just like what happened most recently. There's multiple police officers.
I think you were trying to say something.
What I was trying to say was something as simple as she said handcuffs and hands in the air, and you made it seem like you didn't know what she was talking about. There's
Yeah.
multiple situations. A situation could be one person with a hand in the air, another one with a handcuff, and you acting funny. That's what I'm
Everybody
trying
else
to-
understood that,
like,
but
you know what I mean? So
You
it's
know
just
what
to
I'm saying?
us, you ain't listening to what we're saying.
Okay,
really
but we're
not.
also, with that too, you're referring to somebody who's not showing any resistance whatsoever.
That was the point.
Yeah.
That was the point.
The way
That's
that,
what we're talking
the law allows law enforcement to use force under certain circumstances. But they can only use the amount of force necessary to overcome the resistance.
Right.
So if
Breaking the
law
law.
enforcement is using unnecessary force, it could be a violation of law, they could be charged.
If it's you and the other person, who's to hold them
exactly.
accountable?
If you don't
Yes.
have names.
Without the
If it's all
babysitter.
over there.
So I have a scenario to say. I tried to say it earlier. This is a scenario, right? This is what majority of us in here have kids, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So this is what I'm living every single day, and I'm probably gonna cry within saying it, but I don't wanna get cut off. I'm raising 2 kids that are fully chocolate, okay? Now what I'm saying is, I'm gonna eventually have to have a conversation, which a lot of mothers probably already have had. Listen, when you see a police officer, don't move a muscle. When you're nervous, like when you're speaking, I can see your hands shaking. You're standing right here. You're not at the end of a guy with a gun on his shoulder, you know what I'm saying? But you're still shaking, your hands are shaking. So at the end of the day, you're nervous, and to tell my child, think about having your baby and telling your baby, you didn't do anything, but if you leave this house, you have to come back to me. That is the hardest conversation anybody can have with their kids. Like
your kids can't wear a
your
hoodie
kid is
without being
nervous
scared of getting shot.
of going outside, bro. You have to understand where we're coming from. So what we're saying is, we don't want to get violent. We don't want the violence to come and surround our county. We want to take it together and let's figure out what to do. What do you require? What do you think would be a recommendation for us to take as a first step?
Yes.
What's our first step to it? All right, here you go, officer. You told me this was gonna get us somewhere. Here's what you have, okay? Do you need like 1 million names on a piece of paper saying that you need body cams? Do you need us to donate the money? Because I can go GoFundMe. I will get you the money. I need to know what to do so my kids don't have to die. That's it.
I heard you, officer, that you're scared too. I think that's the problem, that the officers are
Everybody
scared.
has.
Everyone's scared, but you have the upper hand. They're scared. They're strong black men. They're scared. Everyone's scared, but they have the upper hand. What do we have to protect ourselves, even if on paper? Any accountability?
You're absolutely right. Law enforcement is scared because
Yes.
they don't know what they're facing at the end of the day.
I believe it.
Just what was it, a couple months ago? They pulled over a car for just a traffic infraction, and the guy got out and he started shooting at him. They don't know what they're facing.
I understand.
That's different.
Forget that there's but what, we have no protection, and we are scared, and we are suffering. The officers.
Honestly, can I just say something? Honestly, I feel like we're going nowhere at all when we have these conversations with you. Honestly, everybody else, I feel like we're making some kind of progress with your body language, everything, because you guys are trained in body language, right?
Wait,
Okay,
push
so-
off, stop, wait. I'm
So,
showing him what he's saying.
if you guys are trained in body language, you guys know all the nervous behaviors and all. You know what I'm saying? You're the only one out of everybody here that is displaying any kind of nervous behavior, uncomfortable behavior.
Yeah.
You're still in the stone now.
I know all the time.
So you're like,
So can I just bring something to the table in terms of like action items? And I don't live, I live over in the Inglewood area, but it is not immune to anyone in any area. My son, some people said that my son and his friends were running around the neighborhood, black boys running around the neighborhood, breaking in cars. They sent 6 police cars over to a gated community because they were told that it was 2 black boys, and they were not breaking in cars, they were walking in the community. And they surrounded my son with 6 police cars who had never been in any trouble, had never been in any contact. My son today went and got his driver's license, and you know the conversation I had to have with him is, when you see a police officer, put your hands on the dashboard, because I want you to come home alive. It is real. It is real in every community. The only reason why I came out today is I needed everybody to know their voice, my voice, they're not being heard. And if we can get a review committee in place that review some of these actions from our community. We do it every day with United Way. We have a panel that decides where the funds are going to go. Let's have a panel that decides when there's an infraction or there's someone that's saying that I have not been treated correctly. Let's have a review committee of your peers, not of other officers, of your peers that's in this community that can look and listen and say, yes, this is not right. This is not fair. They should not be treated like that. Or yes, he deserved to be treated like that. Whatever the case was, you need somebody else. We need other eyes and ears, because what's happening is happening everywhere.
What do you recommend?
I
hear what she's saying, and I'm sorry.
No,
And that is something that's happened in other departments. So I would look at that to make sure it's actually successful. So you want to make sure it works. But yeah, review committee. But the second thing is what I heard is some of you guys say you tried to make complaints and got turned away or whatever. I think you got to start there. I think we have to make sure we have a good process in place for people to make complaints. And if you got turned away, anybody can make a complaint.
What about a report, like file a report on someone?
Anybody can make a report.
Wow. See, we wouldn't know if someone at the front tells us that. You turn around.
But it needs to be of your peers, of the community, not of other
Yes.
police officers. It needs to be of the community. The people that
Yes.
look like me and you need to be on the board, on that committee.
We were walking past an incident where two people were fighting, and the officer pushed me. He went up to the officer, was like, please don't put your hands on her. And I don't want to talk in the mic. I'm already nervous.
Everybody want to hear you.
Everybody wants to hear you.
Okay. Anyway, so we were walking past. The officer pushed me. He went up to the officer and said, why are you putting your hands on her? The officer then, because then Chris grabbed his phone, started recording. The officer took his phone, slammed down on the ground. He told me to start recording. I started recording. The officer arrested him for, what was it? Obstruction, but resisting without violence. He's complained, and I have everything on video. Complained to the officer, the cuffs are too tight, can you please listen? The officer tightened it, laughed, and walked away. I said, where's your supervisor? They told me, don't worry about it. The whole time, and this was with the Punta Gorda Police Department. I asked, where's your supervisor? What's your name? They refused to tell me. And when
And you have all that on video?
I have it all on video. I went to the day shift supervisor because the real supervisor was watching the whole thing happen, not knowing that when I'm calling for the supervisor, he's saying, oh, don't worry about it.
Right.
And I went to the day shift supervisor with him. They said, make a formal complaint. Okay, how do we do that? But he told us, write it down, we'll submit it. Who goes over it? Oh, I do. What? If the supervisor's at fault and the supervisor's going to review it, then
But you
how do I
gave it
make
to
it
another
sense?
supervisor, right? Not the one that was
Correct,
at fault?
and I tried showing him the video. He told me that that's none of his business. We don't need to see it.
Okay,
That's not acceptable.
no, you're right.
And then he was going to nursing school. Guess what? Now he can't wait 2 years after that case got dismissed. He was put on 6 months probation, and now that literally took what? 2 years? Yeah, he's another year and a half before he starts school.
So I'm going to put you with that captain right there, and we're going to take
And
this.
I want to also say that in the police report it said nothing about him being aggressive. I was supposed to be the aggressive one. Why wasn't I arrested? Because I'm white?
I can't answer that. I have to look at it.
That's exactly why. Because in the whole thing it said the white female aggressor. The white female aggressor. Never once did it say that he was being aggressive. And that's not okay.
I agree. I 100% agree. I'm not disagreeing that there are things that need to be changed, everybody. I can tell you that right now.
You're asking for a video, but he just said we don't need body cams. But what if she didn't have that video and now he has that crime on his record, but she
You are
don't
getting
need
body
body
cameras, so I don't know if you were here.
But he said we don't need body cams.
That's a different.
No, he didn't say that.
I didn't say we didn't need them, I said what it comes down, unfortunately, and I hate to say
Storage.
that.
And then this
It
man
comes down to
places
storage
through.
expense.
Now he has.
He
In
has
order,
to change
in
the
order
job.
for us to do
Hold
that.
on, guys. Let him talk. Let him talk. One at a time.
In order for us to be able to afford it, it probably comes down to us having to raise taxes.
Yeah.
You gotta tell this man and all his constituents that you're willing to raise your taxes to pay for it.
Bro, taxes are ridiculous anyway. If it's to protect our life, we might as well.
Hey, guys.
Go ahead.
Hang on, let him talk.
So the people gotta pay to keep from being abused. Is that what you're trying to say?
That's exactly what he's saying. That's what he's saying.
I'm paralegal by degree. And for you to sit here and tell people that they have to pay for their protection when y'all are paid to protect and serve the public. And the people that are paid to protect and serve us are the ones abusing us, but we gotta pay them to keep us.
It's the real world, guys. It's the real
All I'm
world.
saying is I'm trying to be honest here.
Yes.
I
It's the
have
real world.
I have to operate within a budget. As you know, the demographics of Charlotte County are very different. We have a large retirement community on fixed income. They can only afford so much.
So maybe it's something where how can we all come together and raise money? I'm willing.
And that was what Stephanie was saying.
And
We have many ideas on the board. We have ideas on the board.
And there may be ways to do that. There may be ways to do that, but what I explained before, I don't think you were here before. the price of cameras right now are low. They're insignificant.
Please stop talking about the price of
They-
cameras when we're talking about people's lives.
I know that,
2 years.
but you're asking me to implement a program that I have to be able to afford.
Well, then
I know it doesn't.
What about the brand new motorcycles you guys just got a couple years ago?
We're here to try and do something.
And everything else you guys buy that are brand new.
Let's do a fundraiser.
How about this? How about this? Why does Charlotte County have a helicopter? Why do you guys need a helicopter? Just to obey us. All the gas you guys spend on a helicopter, why don't you?
Multiple reasons.
Why?
Mosquito control.
For what?
Search and rescue. They operate.
Yo, we have drones, bro. We have drones nowadays. That can do that easily.
I'm just telling what's
a
being-
drone. I can fly a drone and easily find
Are you
somebody.
interested in hearing what it's used for? Because I'm
I
happy
mean,
to.
go ahead.
Otherwise, I'm
Continue.
only
Continue. I just don't want to hear excuses. I want to hear like something that's real.
Let me, can I intervene here for a minute, please?
Hair dryer for your hands. They wash their hands appropriately.
Yeah, let me intervene for a minute here, and I've been listening, and I understand what you're going through, and trust me, I'm one of the most transparent guys you can ever meet. My name is Reverend Louis Anderson Jr., and I'm the president of the Charlotte County branch, NAACP. For over 5 or 6 years, when they had, I don't know whether the sheriff or the chief shared this with you before I came up, but when there was racial tension, unjust, over 6 years ago, we organized a task force, okay? We were just like you, wanting to be proactive, but be positive and move forward where we can all just get along. 6 years ago, myself, my colleague, who is a Caucasian, he's my right-hand man. He's been with me ever since I've been the president of NAACP in Charlotte County. 6 years. Sheriff Pramell, he reached out to me. Commissioner Truix reached out to me, wanted to sit down and talk and to see what we can do to prevent all of the injustice from happening here in Charlotte County. Before Chief Davis got here, when Chief Arnell was the chief of police, we sat down and we talked. When Chief Lewis went out of office, we sat down, we talked. We dealt with the racial profiling that was going up and down Cooper Street. We dealt with it in its totality, okay? But what we found out is that we can deal with it all day, and I have no problem going to Chief Davis, Sheriff Pramell, Officer Harris, Casarella, nobody. I don't have a problem with it. I respect them, they respect me. And the fact of the matter is that I respect this community, I respect everyone. Sheriff Pramell had an incident where he was trying to explain where there was a racial slur made across the internet. I can talk about it now because FDLE has closed the investigation. It happened in Texas. One of his employees, the first thing he did was call me. Say, Reverend, I got a problem. I need you to come in, sit down with me, and let us review this together before I make a decision. We have to understand that there are policies in place for everybody.
Yes.
Everybody has rules. You even got rules where you live.
Yes.
We have to abide by it. But one thing that I've learned, and I like what the young lady said, what can we do? We have to educate our community. And I know we hear this all the time. But take a minute, take 10 minutes to train and educate your kids. Okay? That's how, hold on, I'm not letting you know, I feel your pain now. Listen, hold up, you gotta listen to what I'm saying. I'm not saying that that's not what you're doing. See, I'm not saying that that's not what you're doing. See, what I'm trying to get us to understand is that you have some people that has a voice, okay, that you don't even know nothing about. Okay? I mean, I'm here to tell you, even the incident that happened a few years back where the African-American guy tried to rob the store. When we sat down, when the task force sat down, and talked with the chief of police and the sheriff, the first thing that they said, that if there's any unrest in this community, the first person to contact their call will be the NAACP. Okay, and I share with them, and he'll tell you, there's only so many hours that a person is going to wait. And we established within 24 hours we need to have some type of answer. I'm not making excuses for nobody, no law enforcement officers, or nobody.
What have you guys accomplished? That would help everybody.
Okay, well I'm glad you asked.
Now, 1, 2, 3. As you've met with the commissioner and you've met with the sheriff, and I like both of these gentlemen and feel like I know them from watching them around town. But tell us what you've accomplished and what your goals were. In fact, I'd like to know how you feel about the new hospital, the prisons building. That's what, $40 million? I don't know.
On top of that, y'all just
But
killing us.
just tell us what you've accomplished.
Being targeted every
A lot
time.
has changed in 6 years. Okay. The rules, the communication, even with the mental health. I heard someone ask about how can we get information. What we wanted to do was bring mental health training down here to Cooper Street. Okay, where law enforcement officers was using 40 hours, we were trying to took it down. I heard somebody talk about it. How many hours will it take? Was maybe 4 or 5 hours. Okay, Commissioner Truitt flew up and down to Washington. Maybe that's not a concern of yours, but
Did somebody find made some changes?
yes. Okay, well let me help you out. You're looking for documentations. I'm gonna let.
We need to know what we need to do as a people, collectively. And I asked you this question, I haven't heard from you. I don't know if it's because everybody else channeled it. I heard from her, the committee. What do we need to do as a people that's peaceful, paper-wise, to bring to you to make a change within your department so we can make sure that this craziness that's going on outside of our little home doesn't come home? Do you understand what I'm saying? Because it's this, what we're talking about, mental health and all that stuff, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about worrying about the craziness coming here. We don't need people dying. We don't need to see any more young men or women on the side of the road with their face in the pavement. That's what we're talking about.
Okay,
what do you need from me?
I got you. Chief Davis, would you tell her what we discussed in our meeting this morning that we had at the Punta Gorda Police Department?
Wait a minute. Matter of fact, can I just say one thing? Because I feel like this is just counterproductive. Realistically, all of y'all police walk around with a gun, y'all pull us over, draw it. For what? Answer that question. If we ain't strapped or nothing, why y'all draw it?
Very good question, brother. I'm glad you asked that question because mental health is not the subject matter. I'm O.C. Pringle, Bishop O.C. Pringle. And though I do not live in this county, I pastor in this county. So therefore, I may not be a civil rights leader, but I am a local leader in this area. So I have a right to speak on this matter. All of this, what the dear brother spoke concerning, and I feel that he was sincere, but it was totally irrelevant. That is not what we're here to talk about. At least that's not the information I received. Secondly, the dear sister asked the question, what can we do? My answer to you is nothing, because the problem is not with the people, the problem is with the law enforcement. So the question is not what can we do, the question is what are you planning on doing to change what's been happening not only in this county, but across the entire nation. We don't have answers for you. You're supposed to have answers for us. So the question is, what are you going to do? Thirdly, I want to say this before we proceed. Just because a person is passionate in their delivery, that does not mean they are angry. Nor does it mean you need to be defensive in any form or fashion. I was standing behind you and I was concerned about the ones who were in front of you because of your body language. And so they are correct. They are correct with their concerns. They are correct with the questions, with the exception of the question, what can we do? The answer is nothing. The problem is not with the people. The problem is with law enforcement all across this country. So there's nothing we should be doing but driving along the highway, being peaceful, living our everyday lives without fear of law enforcement doing something stupid, indignant, and ignorant, and irresponsible. Nothing, sister, there's nothing else to do but live. They have a responsibility, because the fact of the matter is the law enforcement, they work for us. They work for us. So because they work for us, that simply means they should be concerned about how we feel about their job. And whenever they pass the buck back on the people, that simply suggests this: no, it's not our fault, it's your fault. That's a lie. And that is a narrative that I just cannot afford to stand here and allow to be given to these people who are simply wanting a safe environment. Fourth thing, and I'm going to stop for now. As individuals spoke passionately, which they have a right to do, not only was this gentleman showing signs of aggression and discomfort, the brothers behind me over here, they stood up and began to move forward, because if you black and passionate, you are a threat. And that is something that rests in the subconsciousness of people that are not black, people that are not brown. So we need to understand there's nothing for us to do. There needs to be some training. There needs to be accountability. There needs to be a review board, I agree, not consisting of other officers, but an outside source. I'm sure you all heard. I promise you I'm going to give the mic. Watch this. Michael Baden in Minneapolis, he came forth with a report that it was not asphyxiation that killed George Floyd, but the family went and got a private autopsy done. They lied. In other words, to make it short, they cover each other. They support each other. And so now all of a sudden, the fact that we are coming together and supporting each other is posing a threat. We don't want to hear about a committee. We don't want to hear about a form that needs to be signed. We don't want to hear about how many hours you have to report something. We want to hear this. What y'all going to do different from now?
Exactly.
I would like to say that I respect you very much. Thank you for speaking. Thank everyone for speaking. I heard something different. I did hear all those things talked about. I recognize that even though what this man here said didn't apply to what we were asking, he gave us some information that we needed, that he did know these people we didn't know, and he did know how to reach out to them.
Yes.
And what they need is support. That's what we're here for now. I heard answers to a lot of our questions. I heard what we can do. I heard what certain people are doing. I heard something different.
Can I say something to
I really got a question. Yo, listen, I got kids, so this is my question. When y'all are coming for us, how do I protect myself from y'all? That's my only question. Legally. I would like to hear that from a police officer, sir. I would like to hear that from a police officer. I'm gonna pass it to him. I would like to, because I'm asking about my life and my children's life. So my thing is,
Because at the end of the day, we don't hear about the NAACP till.
No, I'm not.
Let me finish.
I'm not
We
referencing
don't hear
anything to
about
the NAACP.
I like
or
that.
none of that craziness until someone black is
What
in
could we
trouble.
do, like a code?
No. That's when African Americans, when anybody get in trouble, we serve people a code. Okay, it's not an individuality here. All I know, this is what I know. This is what I can guarantee you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, he's going to answer your question, but let me finish. Everything that we do, it deals with our mental health. We have to be able to think rationally and move aggressively. Okay?
You can't do that right now.
Okay, I'm just letting you know. All right?
You can't do that right now.
And I'm going to let him talk. I'm going to let him talk.
What you're saying, as a brother, what you're saying is the fact that we have passion means that we have mental health?
No. I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it. That is not what I'm saying.
Hey, listen. Can we go one at a time, please?
I just need the answer, sir.
Hey. We need to go one at a time.
Let him answer his
one person needs to speak
that's a big
and let
report.
everybody else listen.
Sir, you should never have to fear the police, and if you do, you're right, we have an issue.
That's what we're
But
talking about.
I know that, but what we're trying to tell you too is that there are ways that you need to let us know, and I'm glad Reverend Anderson did come, because that is another way. If you guys are truly fearful about approaching us to make a complaint, you can go to Reverend Anderson, and he'll go directly to me. He'll
You
go
guys
directly
picked
to
him.
In the
I
situation.
said you guys picked him.
In the situation.
That was not my question. My thing is,
In the
like I
situation.
said, I'm gonna repeat it. Y'all are strapped. Y'all come to us, draw a gun on us. What do I do
Kids in the
to
car.
protect myself from y'all?
Then, not later.
That's the only thing you can do, because that's the only thing.
It's comply, yes.
No, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. Compliance.
Hey guys, hey listen. This is turning really unproductive. Listen, this is gonna end really fast, okay? Because all this is under me. You know what I'm saying? Not about me. This is for everybody. You know what I'm saying? I wanted us to come together and have a productive talk, okay? Once everybody starts talking out of turn and yelling and we can't hear this and we can't hear that, we're not doing nothing here. We might as well go home if that's what we're gonna do.
I just need an
But
answer.
can I just put a suggestion?
Hold on, listen.
Like, I really just want an answer.
We all just want to hear an answer to the question.
Yeah,
That's it.
because we're allowed
And
to-
everybody else needs to be quiet and listen to what he has to say. We want to hear
Can
your
I get an
answer.
answer to that question, sir? That particular question.
I know you're not going to like the answer, but it was already said. At that point, because I'm not there, supervisors probably aren't there, but at that point, so everybody walks away, is comply. And then, if you feel that that
Bring it
officer or that deputy was wrong,
Pringle next.
you need to bring that forward to us so we can look into it.
You can't if you're dead. You can't if
But-
you're dead.
But if,
Too late then.
All right, next. Over. Pringle goes.
Can I say something before you get, I'm gonna give it to you. But what I really do feel that we need to do, if we can come up, raise, or do whatever, to his point, there's nothing that you can do other than comply. But if you had a body cam, if your officers had a body cam or something on them, that the people will feel comfortable in knowing that if something happened to my son, I want to know what happened. I want to see something. I need to see something as to what happened. So I think that, yes, there's nothing that we need to do. However, I think there's some demands that we need to put on the police officers as far as we want. We want body cams. We want a review committee. We don't want complaints to go to their own supervisor. Their own supervisors are going to do nothing.
We have that.
We need other people to do the review. Like, those are the things that we need to put in place. So yeah, there's nothing that individually we can do right now other than put demands as far as what is needed from the people here. Because we all have to work together. This is our community and everybody wants to work together. And I hate the notion of them and us. It is no them and us. It's all of us. And all of us have to learn how to get this thing worked out together.
If I may,
They'll
in
go
response,
after you.
yes, certainly, in response to the whole concept of compliance, that's why the nation is protesting now. Because George Floyd complied. He did not resist. So compliance has absolutely nothing to do
Not good enough anymore.
with what the cops are doing. Because we have, again, black and brown people who are being shot to death, who are being beaten by officers, and they complied. What was the brother's name that was sitting in the car with his wife and children? He did nothing but comply, and he was yet shot. So again, there's nothing we are to do that we are not doing. The responsibility does not rest upon our shoulders. I do believe that there are some good officers out there, and we could very well have some of them here. I don't know, but there's a lot of bad ones. And listen to this scenario. If there's 100 dogs headed toward me, and I'm told that 10 out of those 100, 10 out of those 100 are evil and sadistic. Do you think I'm going to stand there and risk my life hoping I come in contact with one of the good 10? No, I'm going to view all of them as such until there is a change within the infrastructure of these law enforcement agencies. There needs to be a real conversation. Needs to be a real conversation on what you all are going to do. And it's okay to start now. Today is the first day of the rest of all of our lives. We can begin now, turning a new page, entering into a new chapter, and making a promise. We can start from there, making a promise. From now on, things are going to be different. As far as body cams are concerned, do we realize that the only area in Florida that's not wearing body cams is the Tampa Bay area and below? So has anyone made a plea to the state? If there aren't body cams, are there dash cams available? That's a start right there.
Are there storage costs on that, sir?
Pardon me? Yeah. There is. Come on. Let's be real. There is a storage cost. There's also a cost for manpower because you need people that's going to monitor those body cams / dash cams also. So again, you're creating jobs. And as far as raising the taxes, nah. There are agencies all over this world that's giving away these body cams, giving away these dash cams. But if you're really not interested in acquiring them, you're not going to do what it takes to get one. So to answer this king over here, this king asked the question, what can he do? What can we do as black and brown men and women to not deal with what we see happening all the time across the nation? Only thing we can do at this time is continue to take a stand, make our voice heard, and make demands, and stand behind the demands. Don't come out here today and let this be it. This should be the beginning of something perpetual. Every single time there is a concern in the community, 100, 200, 300 people ought to come together peacefully and intelligently in a well-organized manner to make our voices heard. But if I'm not mistaken, I see 2 preachers and I'm one of them. So I'm sending out a check and I see 3. So I'm making a plea. Actually, I'm challenging, since I'm on camera, I'm challenging other pastors to make their voice be heard. What are you doing to bring about a change? You're not a good pastor nor a good leader if we only hear you on Sunday and you do not support us Monday through Saturday. You need to be a part of the community, not just a part of the sanctuary.
You've been trying to say something for a long time.
Thank you. So, so now, for us who's sitting in the car getting pulled over, okay, we do what we got to do to keep ourselves safe. But really, I'm more or less concerned about the mentality of the police officer that's pulling me over. So, my question is, do you guys go under some like psychoanalysis or something like that? You know, like some social environment or something like that to like analyze like how you're gonna deal with people in general. And then on top of that, you gotta watch like the way officers conduct themselves in the office, at home, you know what I mean? What do they do on their free time? Not saying that you guys can't have a private life, but I know if I'm wearing like my clothes from work, or even if I work somewhere and I'm acting crazy and my job find out about it, I'm out. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just wondering, like, what do you guys go through that cycle like test? And then if you do, how many times do you go through it?
There is a psych evaluation that the law enforcement go through. They go through it upon the hiring process.
Then throughout that, it's kind of an evaluation where the supervisor and commanders are watching them day to day as they're operating. But we also instill upon our staff that your actions off duty also reflect on duty. So anything you do off duty could potentially cost you your job. We're expecting them to act the same way off duty that they do on duty. And again, if you're telling me that I have a racial issue and there's racial things going on, they're not bringing forth to me. I had the one issue that was brought to me a few months ago, and I addressed it. I address everything. I've probably fired more people from the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office than the last 5 sheriffs put together, because there's behavior that occurs that I do not tolerate. I expect our staff to live by our core values. If they don't, they're not a member of the Sheriff's Office.
So is that test like one time? Is it during
I
the
said
grace period? How many times?
That's what I said, one time upon hiring.
I feel like they
So what
should
if
be
they're
done.
gonna stop for 30 years,
Yeah,
they'll guard it again?
definitely.
Well, if we see somebody who is,
They have to have a reason to be tested.
yeah, if they're showing psychological issues, if they're showing some sort of issues, we refer them to the psychologist. There is an agency psychologist that we contract with, and they're immediately taken off duty and they're referred to them, and they don't come back on duty. At that point, it's with pay. Unless they've done something that some sort of serious policy violation that allows me to do without pay, or they're getting ready to have a withdrawal of appointment. But if somebody's showing some psychological issues like a post-traumatic stress, we're trying to get them help. And then they don't come back on duty until the doctor clears them.
You also have the early warning system that you watch everybody with force.
Yeah, we do have the early warning system. We go through that, and there's a criteria that they meet, and our internal affairs sergeant goes through all reports, all different types of things to try and identify people who may be on the risk of offending or violating any one of our policies and procedures, so we can try and intervene and correct the behavior. If we can't correct the behavior, then we do what we got to do. But we first try to correct the behavior because staffing is hard to get nowadays.
That's the only thing.
Okay, but hold on.
Hold on, guys. I'm sorry to interrupt. We got Legacy. We got Legacy back here. She wants to say something. Yes.
I have a question here. I have spoken with the last chief of her that the problem is you guys are hiring, and I don't know about county, but city have been hiring officers from other counties that have been coming in with a bad record, from where they work. And they were causing a lot of problems. The one that was really caught was the one that shot the lady at
Cole.
the library.
Hold the mic.
Okay. But there are several others. And the chief that mentioned this at a meeting that we had, we used to have one once a month. And he said a lot of this is going on. It's like a brother's thing. If someone gets fired in another county, the next county will pick them up and keep them on as though they were a good officer. And that needs to stop.
And she's absolutely right. There was a history where sometimes they would hire somebody that had a disciplinary history at another agency. So I am very much involved in the hiring process with our agency. I'm lucky because it's a smaller agency, so I get to have that opportunity to be very involved from the beginning. And I don't hire somebody with internal affairs records. And we do a background check that we go to that agency. I actually sent a private investigator we hired somebody from out of state, sent the private investigator over to confirm that there was not an internal affairs case. But I'm hearing a lot here. You guys have really, my hair's raised up. I went to Baltimore City for reform, and I heard a lot of the same things there. There was a lot of mistrust in the community with the law enforcement. And I really, when I came here, I hope that wasn't the case here, but you really kind of opened my eyes tonight. By chance, is that going to be a recording available that we could get, that I could be sharing with my officers?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'd love to get that. So culture change has to happen in police agencies, right?
Amen.
And what has to happen is, we say first line supervisors are usually the ones that you have to really worry about the most as far as changing the culture, but I would argue that it's an FTO, a field training officer, because who's out there taking that officer, the brand new officer, and showing them the ropes.
Yes.
So you guys have given me a lot to think about, and I want to really talk about this recording. I really want to work with Javon and talk about maybe doing some ride-alongs and having you come in and speak to our officers, because they got to hear us.
Who reads
Okay.
the reports that we file? Who specifically?
If you're talking about complaints,
Complaints, yeah.
I have a captain that oversees the Office of Professional Standards, and he gets them. He brings them to me every time, so I do see them.
What's his name?
Captain Jason Chiskini. That's common spelling.
Yes. You go directly to him and not.
Yeah, and actually, it's if you look at our website, there's a way that it goes right to them, and all of our email addresses and all of our phone numbers are right there that you guys can get. Yes, ma'am.
If an officer is not psychologically prepared or qualified to train another officer, why is he even an officer?
I don't know about psychologically trained, because everybody passes they have to pass a psychological to get on here, so. They absolutely should, but some people are better leaders than others. That's just a natural thing, so we want that person that's gonna be a good leader as well. One of the policies that both the sheriff and I have in place too, when you're talking, what happened up in Minneapolis is that 3 officers sat there and watched this happen. So we have a policy in place that says duty to intervene, but what has to happen with that policy in place that says duty to intervene, because I can have that and put it in writing, it's a big deal, right? That culture has to be there that I am not intimidated to tell that officer, get the hell off of that guy. So that is one thing that we have been working on as well, is it's a culture thing. And somebody else wanted to, I'm sorry.
I just got a quick question.
Absolutely.
How many people on the force are actually African American? I think that plays a big role as far as our communities not having any representatives there. So I think it's just as much of a challenge on you guys to give outreach to these younger kids and tell them that,
hey guys, respect.
Hey, this is a legitimate job. I don't want to come across as someone who has anger or battle against the cops, because you guys have a very important job, but we don't have enough of our representatives. We don't have enough of our voice on a daily basis in these meetings that no one's seeing, in those car rides that people are saying whatever. We need to be there. So I want the youth, you know, I don't know if I could be a cop, you know what I mean?
Well, that's what I need.
I know there's kids out there, and if I could encourage anybody, you know, from my side, I think it's a two-way thing, so.
But also hire people that don't just want a job, that actually care. That's like a lot of teachers.
This is a profession, and you gotta wanna do it from the heart. But to answer your question, when I got here, there was 0 African Americans on our department. There's 2, and it is a priority. So out of 38 officers, now you asked me to do math. So 6%, a little over 6%. Hey, our hiring process is happening in September, so please.
Go ahead.
And somebody else wanted to speak.
Also, when you had mentioned what we could do with the children, you know, and I'm sure this happens up here in Charlotte County too, but we have an Explorers program. Matter of fact, my son's going to go on the Explorers program probably here in a week or two once they kind of open up a little bit. But that is something where you can grab the children and you can instill that culture in them, right? Because I think it's important that we begin right down here, you know, not begin when we're already up here, you know, because you can't change, you know, you can teach somebody something, but teaching them character is a little tougher once they get outside of that childhood age and they leave their parents' house. So, you know, I think that's something that we're doing. I'm sure we have something here too. But I know that on our team, and I don't know if you guys know the demographics in Northport, but it's very, very low my minority. It's like 0.3%. But we do have, you know, 2 or 3, I believe, African American police officers on our force, and then we even have some that are in our Explorer program too. So I don't know if anybody else wants to talk on that, but yeah, I want to.
So I told this gentleman a few minutes ago, I have a promise for you guys. You asked for a promise. And I want to give you some takeaways that I have heard tonight. Training, body cams, deterrence, meaning teeth, a review committee. I'll make you a promise tonight that I will work with the sheriff and our fiscal office at the county to find a way to get body cams. There has to be policies in place, and the sheriff can't do it without the Board of County Commissioners. I'll just tell you that right now. He didn't throw me under the bus. But he could have, because the Board of County Commissioners have to come up with the money to support that budget. It comes from all of you.
Can you promise the space, the storage?
Well, that's part
what
of
the
it.
problem was.
No, but it's by law, we get body cams, we've got to pay for the storage.
Okay.
So
Thank you, sir.
that was the holdup, that was the rub, and it was, it's bringing some people on board. But I will tell you this, that I would love to have a copy of that video as well, because I would like for each of our commissioners to hear directly from you guys the frustration and the angst, because this is believe it or not, it's fiscal in some people's minds, but it's lives in yours and it's lives in mine. Okay? So the other thing was, do we need to do a petition? And I will tell you, no, we don't need to do a petition, because I'm going to carry the water for you. We find and identify the laws that need to be adjusted and changed. I can take that to the state, and I'm happy to do that. We can have discussions with the sheriff and Chief Davis about avenues for us to improve, and I'm happy to be a part of that. And y'all should be at that table, okay? So
when is the meeting?
I am yeah, more meetings. But I am making that promise, because I'm on this issue and many other issues I get involved in, I'm a dog on a bone. And when Reverend Anderson brought up mental health, I've been involved in mental health and substance abuse issues for the same reason. As I learned more, I realized it was very important for me to be involved in that, just like this is. So with that, I actually, if there's kids in here, I have challenge coins I want to give out to the kids today, and I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you.
I got one thing I want to say before I pass the mic. All right, guys. So, like I said, this is not about me. I wanted this to be about the community. All right. I work Thursday through Sunday. I don't understand why it took so long for us to get together.
Leader.
I'm at work and I'm seeing what's going on, and nobody put out no message. How was we raised, bro?
Followers.
What's going on? Somebody's supposed to step up. This was put together within 48 hours on a Monday, and look how many people here. If this had been on Friday nights, Friday evening, Saturday, Sunday, who knows how the turnout would have been? You know what I'm saying? Somebody got to step up, bro.
That's us.
Doing it.
People got to,
That's
y'all come together. She's been waiting to say something. Come up here, man.
Yes.
You can say something. Come up
Good
here.
evening, everyone.
Come up.
I am Carla Anderson. I'm Reverend Anderson's wife. I like what you're doing, and I feel your heart, and I feel your passion. Not only yours, but everybody out here. And I believe today is the day that we needed to come together and speak on behalf of what's going on. But at the same time, I want you all to know this day is not the first day. Over 6 years ago, the NAACP, not just the NAACP, just a member and several other members and many community members came together, spoke with Mr. Troy, with the sheriff, and with everybody else. And we invited everybody to have dialogue with the sheriff department, with your city leaders, and no one came out. And exactly, and he just say, we don't know y'all. I know your dad. You don't know me. I went to school with him. But I want to say this to you. This day is a day that I believe that it was totally ordained for all of us to be here. And the anger, I love it. Because if anger is channeled in the right direction, we can get progress. And I do believe that we all see things from different perspectives. I might see the old lady in the psychological point of view. You might see the young lady. And this is all psychological. But I want to say, this is no way that we're going to stop today, because I see the passion even in your eyes. You have so much to offer to the community. You are so powerful because you're brave. Not only that you're brave, you're in order. And order is what we need in this community, in this world, in this nation. And I want to say to you, you yell like, hey, respect. I love that about you. You're going to go far because you feel the pain of the people, as well as you see that there needs to be correction with the officers. I do believe we have great officers here. But in every bunch, there's somebody need to be trained or retrained. So what am I saying today? I'm saying today that all of us matter. Can we meet consistently? Can we come together as a community? Not when somebody gets shot, not when somebody gets hurt, but can we all connect together and say, hey, I'll take care of this. I'll make sure they're accountable about that. Who is our accountability partners? Let's be accountable. Let's get each other's phone numbers. Let's meet. Let's dialogue with the sheriff. Let's dialogue with the pastors. What you said, sir, was very important. What you said, my dear husband, is important. This guy doesn't sleep at night because he was trying to reach the youth. So through you, my dear brother, thank you. He's been trying to reach the youth. And guess what? You are strong. He's wise. They call the old because they're wise. Call the young because they're strong. You can voice to this group that they will turn a deaf ear to him. But he can collaborate and connect with you and become wise. You can get wisdom from him, and he can get some understanding from you as well. So can we today make this an ongoing process that we may be accountable to the community, to our law enforcement, to everybody, and most of all, to our children and each other. Thank you.
Let's hear it for King Javon. And sir, what is your last name?
Truett.
Truett.
Yeah.
Thank you for accepting the challenge that I placed on the table. So now we're going to hold you to that. But one thing I do not agree with what you said. One thing, there's no need for a petition. There's always okay to have a backup.
Oh, it's
plan.
okay.
Just in case.
You got my ear.
We want your ear, but we also, and we have video, and we want the promise to come to pass. So stick with the petition. Stick with the petition. Thank you. Stick with the petition. And there's one that's being passed around at this moment, I'm being told, by King Javon. So listen to this. What is your name, brother? Chris Levy. Chris Levy. Based on what the two of you have stated, the report talks about a white woman, but the arrest report shows a black man. And so this brother's life has been put on hold. He was in nursing school, and because of what somebody else did, his life has been interrupted. It happened in the city. Am I correct? So that falls under your jurisdiction. So, the same way Bill Truett accepted that particular challenge that I placed out there, Chief Davis, do you accept the challenge? In a full review of what took place on that day. And if it is done right, if it is done properly, this can be taken back in the front of a judge again and have it dismissed so this brother can pursue the career that he deserves to pursue. But it must start with law enforcement initiating a full review. And I'm looking in your eyes, Chief Davis, I'm looking in your eyes, and what I see is a level of sincerity, and I believe you're going to move forward. There's an energy that I'm getting from you that I like. There's an energy that I'm getting from you that I like, and I'm looking at, and I honestly believe, so whatever video you have, make sure it gets to them as expeditiously as possible. But I must acknowledge Sheriff Promell. There has been a change in his energy. So listen, this did not happen without results. Even before we end this gathering, I believe we're getting results already. I believe minds have been integrated, souls and spirits and ideas, and I believe a change is getting ready to take place. In the meantime, pray for the sheriff. Listen, I'm serious. Pray for the sheriff. I don't know what the laughing was for, but pray for the sheriff. Pray for the chief, because can I tell you something? They do carry a heavy burden. But I am so glad, and I commend both of them, that they took time out of their busy schedule to hear what you all have to say. Make sure you're saying the right thing. Amen. So they can leave with the right understanding. I am hoping and praying that you will receive a full exoneration and you can get back on track. And when that happens, King Javon, let's come together and have a celebration celebrating a victory, because I believe you deserve to be a nurse, a doctor, and what? How old are you? 29. Oh my God. By 35, brother, you're going to be straight 6 figures. Or sooner. That's what I wanted to say. So the chief accepts that challenge.
We're wrapping it up. We're coming to a close, but we got a couple more people. That's it.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sarah. I wanted to ask Mr. Prummel some questions. I see that Mr. Truex took the challenge and he's taking a stance for some changes. For Mr. Prummel, you guys have had this training with the Reverend, I think it said 5 or 6 years ago. You guys have done the training. It only happens once. And it's clearly not worked because it's still happening. So I wanted to know, on behalf of everybody that's facing these injustices, including my kids, my relatives, everyone here, what are you going to do to change the force now? How do you go through your force right now? When you leave here, what steps are you going to take? It's not us, them. It's not the people that needs to change. We need to know what's going to happen right now when you leave. Are you going to devise a plan to address the officers, the racial profiling, the racial injustices, the physical assaults that they get away with that they are never going to admit? How do we address this now? How do you address it? Not we, I want to direct it at you. How do you, as the sheriff that we elect in place, you hire these people, they represent you. They're not representing you well. So what are you going to do? What can you tell us that you're going to do to change it? On top of that, one other thing I wanted to mention, I work with this community. I'm a realtor here. I'm also in the building industry. One of the local builders recently reached out to me. I made a shirt. I've made plenty of them for everybody here. He attacked me for having black children. He attacked other women for having black and Spanish children. And he told me to send a message to teach them how to break windows and how to carry TVs on their heads. This is your local builder, Blue Chip Builders. I want to know how the community is going to address a builder like this in their community, encouraging looting, encouraging crimes that are federal and felony. How do we address that? This is beyond police. Right now, today, how do we address racism, especially when it's that extent coming from your community? He comes to the community events. He's around the people. He's working with community. If he doesn't care about the community and he wants me to teach them this, does he want us to start at his office with the windows? I'm unsure of what this message meant. So we, the people, want to know what this message from somebody that associates with everyone
Can we
here.
read the message? I can't see it. No.
Teach them how to break windows and carry TVs on their heads.
That was sarcastic.
United we stand, divided we fall.
Is he a white man? Yes. He was being sarcastic, basically saying that's what all black people do.
Yeah.
Yeah, he came in there, yes, he did.
Yeah, it was a horrible exchange between you guys.
How do we change that?
Greatly
How do we
sorry
address
for
that?
I think that it would be beneficial to, I know Chief Davis said that they do. Chief Davis, you said that y'all do the training. I would think it would be beneficial to, like I said, get someone of African American who can actually relay to them how people feel. And I'm quite sure that a lot of officers who, and when I'm not saying all officers, the officers who are racist and who do the profiling, they know what they're doing. It's not that all officers need to be trained. And I know when I'm at work, if my supervisor is saying, oh, such, and she's making it a blanket comment, I kind of feel some type of way because I'm like, I know that's not me. So I know that anybody sitting out there now that's an officer, and we thank all of y'all for coming because you must have some concern because you're here.
Amen. Thank
You know, and we're not saying that it's all officers, but I think the type of training, because like I said, they give us the basic training, but I pick up, I'm one that studies. If I have a certain type of people come into my agency or in my facility all the time, I use my phone for Google Translate when I have patients come in that don't speak English. Whatever language they have, whatever language they speak. I come from a multicultural family, so we don't see color. My baby boy is married to a lady, she's from Lithuania. And what she's, the conversation, I'm about to get teary about it. I'm gonna try not to be teary about it.
Don't get teary-eyed.
We were sitting down talking. They were worried about me coming home from work from the 3 to 11 shift because I do the day shift. And when I got home, she was talking about the Floyd murder. And she said to me, Mom, I go with Malik when he goes to practice because I want to make sure he comes home. She said, I know that if I'm there with him because I'm white, he's protected. And her saying we have to teach our kids. We shouldn't have to teach our kids. That's a right that's given to everybody going further. We should be able to go into the community and not fear for our lives. I have a plaque that has it's laminated. It has my driver's license, my registration, and my insurance card on it. If I'm stopped, I place that plaque in my window before I come to a complete stop. And I keep my hands on the steering wheel, so if the officers ask me for my information, I say it's right there in the window. I shouldn't have to do that. I don't think anybody else that's not black has to do that, and it's not fair. So we need to educate the people who are protecting us, because we understand, like I said, they see the aggression, and I was just saying to them, sometimes, black people talk with their hands. I had to mediate a little situation between a Cuban lady and a black lady. She was from Africa. And the black lady was, because we do that with our hands. It's, just emphasis. And she was like, I'm going to report her because I think she was being aggressive. I thought she was going to hit me. And she was yelling at me when she said, I said, you see how you yelling? That's aggression. But I understand from your culture, that's the way you raise your voice in order to express what you feel. And I'm not offended by that. It's the same thing with her. To this day, they're friends. Because if we can come, we know there's a lot of things that they don't know about the culture of black people. Everybody's not aggressive. We may get upset, we may yell, it's our passion. But we're not throwing our hands up to fight. If we need to come together to educate. Educate on a different level. 2 hours is not going to be enough. I have to educate for my nursing degree every year. Every year I have to do the same thing. But I don't just stop there. I educate myself beyond that. Because if I have a patient that has a situation that none of us know what's going on, I'm in my books. I'm online. And a lot of times I have come, brought things to doctors' attention. Oh, such and such, and it winds up being that. So if we work together to educate, whatever y'all are using to train for training, let somebody that's black in the community go over that with you. So that way we can see what's missing, because something is missing. If the cops feel like they need to fear for their lives when they stop us, and the only way that they can respond to us is in aggression, there's a problem. There's a perception that all black people are angry and mad, and we're not. We're fearful. We're fearful, and if you have a better relationship with us, understanding us, I've had nice officers stop me, ma'am. If somebody stops me and I'm doing something wrong, I'm not upset. I smile, give them my information, and I take whatever it is, I got. And they say, have a nice day, and I say, have a nice day, and I go on about my business. I'm not upset, But if I'm stopped and I see an officer walking up and they have their hand on there, and you clearly know when you run the tag, you may not know somebody else may be driving that vehicle, but if they're, you know body language, like they said. You with the body language, your body language has changed now, but.
He's looking for a hug now. He's looking for a hug now.
Everybody know, and I was standing next to him, and I was watching him.
You don't even know you have that body language.
Exactly, and we need to be aware of that, because people see
aware.
me, and they say that, I was telling him one day, the lady was saying, was I in the military? She said, my persona made her feel like I was in the military, and I've not been. But it's, I was a single parent of 5 kids, and I had to teach my children to, you got to be authoritative when you have kids and you're by yourself. But I did, like everybody else here, teach my kids that there's certain things that you need to do when you're driving.
We do hire veterans too, and so soldiers come back and they have that militaristic thing. So yeah, that's where some of that's coming from too. So, but you bring up very good points about having somebody that can actually speak from experience in some of these trainings. That way the officer needs to recognize you're doing that. You're walking up like this.
And the guy made a point about being an officer. Your lack of minority or black people in the police force is because they fear the police. So how do you want to become a law enforcement officer? When you said about the program that you run for the kids, how do we teach our kids that they have to fear the police, but we can't educate them to want to be an officer if they have to fear officers. Nobody wants to work for and enforce law enforcement if they feel like they have to intimidate somebody else. And I understand y'all lives are at risk all the time, but body language says a lot. Body language tells everything. I can tell when somebody approaches me at work if they're upset, and the first thing I do is smile. My grandmother taught me that one thing: smiling takes everything away. Exactly. If you approach someone with a smile, if I saw an officer come up to me with a smile on their face, my anxiety level goes all the way down. He smiles. smiling at me now. My anxiety level goes all the way down. I don't even like speaking around people. But I just wanted to say that education is going to be the key because education teaches us everything. I taught my kids that cheerleading. We had a little
Okay,
class.
and the person
Maybe
that
that's
comes to
something
the
they can do.
table, can it be a younger person too? Because like I told her, I don't know her.
I think it needs
It need to be, it can be an old head, but it
He
gotta
was
be a
supposed to tell
younger
us his
person
promise.
too.
Here.
Yes, he's about to tell us his.
Good afternoon, you all. My name is Minister Gerald Anderson. I am one of the preachers here. Most importantly, I grew up in the center of this community. This is where I'm from. I got to tell you about this lady right here. Because I was at the table when she interviewed for the job. And when she interviewed for the job, I was one told her, you cannot lead my people. I told her straight out, you can't come to Charlotte County and lead my people. And she said to me, if I get the job, you're going to be my first phone call. And she stood by her word, and she's a really hard-working lady for the center of this county.
I believe
This gentleman, every year, MLK weekend, we stand on the street corner for 2 hours and talk about this community. He comes and he meets me every MLK parade, and we stand on the street corner together. He's one of the first people to show up. Gee, what's going on over there? How can I help out? I'm not a police, but I love everything about this little community. And the gentleman over there smiling, I call him my big brother. What relationship do you have with the people leading us? Where's your relationship with those people where you can go to them? Because when they show up, because I've been stopped by the police plenty times. I'm not off the list. Check my record. Okay, is that serious? Okay, is that serious? I've been stopped, but you know what? If it's 4, 5, 6 cars, I know somebody over there.
And he will call.
Quick. Quick, because
What's going on?
protecting us. When I ride through this community, I see something. If I can't get her, I got my other partner right there. Mr. Howard Koenig, who before he come here, we was at a table together. He met with me and my brother before he even took the job about what's going on in this community. And he wants to know. He wants to know what's happening as well. So yes, we talking good stuff, but where is your relationship personally with those who leading us?
We're establishing it now, sir.
Okay, well that's
We're
good.
here.
Cause True, I call him True. I don't call him True X, all that stuff. I call him True because he's always real with his word. And he has also showed up to help me out in a lot of different situations. Where's your relationship?
Can he speak though?
The leaders need to reach out to us if they
Yeah.
have a relationship.
Yeah, we
So,
are
like,
not a younger
when
generation.
y'all-
I'm not-
the younger
I'm not in
generation when
disagreement.
sometimes
But you know me.
I know. No,
You
no
and you can
disrespect.
pick up the
I'm
phone
gonna be
and
real.
call
No
me.
disrespect. I'm just gonna speak.
And you can pick up the phone.
The younger generation. I know. The younger generation like this. Do we understand what y'all saying?
Yeah, we don't hear that. Let's go.
Come on, wait. We understand what y'all saying. But we feel like y'all kind of boosting them up. Like we ain't trying to hear all that.
That's not what I'm saying.
No.
They looking
They're
for
educating us,
relationship.
sharing wisdom. This is
They
our
looking
first
for
time coming forward.
relationship.
We ain't trying to hear
I just wanted to agree with the relationships and agree with having youth look up to be a police officer, but it's hard for someone my age to want to be an officer when the rest of my friends in high school are saying, no, F12. It starts with the family. We have to be accountable as well. How can he respect me if I'm not respecting him? Every time he drives by and I'm flicking him off with my friends, why would the kid next to me want to be a cop? There's no respect for cops. It's hard for one of us.
We already addressed all of that. I think we were in the bathroom.
His commitment,
We addressed that. That was who's in the bathroom, guys.
Pomo's commitment, his commitment got interrupted. Sheriff, Pomo's commitment.
Hold on, we want to hear this commitment.
Yes,
All right, Sarah, right?
yes. Hi.
Sarah, we seem to got off the wrong foot earlier, and I do apologize for that. We talked about personalities earlier, and I kind of just have this factual, matter-of-fact personality. That's just who I am. So that's how I come across. I deal in facts. And I was trying to just explain how things are in the law enforcement world. Didn't mean to offend anybody. Nobody should be scared of the police. If they are, we do have a serious issue. I'm very glad to hear that Bill is willing to look into the coffers and find out where we can come up with the money to do the cams. So like I said, the cams were brought up earlier. You're absolutely right. You can get cameras for a dime a dozen. You can get grants anywhere. What I had mentioned earlier, what costs a lot of money is just the storage, and that's a reoccurring cost every year. So that's just something we need to come up with a plan of how we're going to be able to afford that, because it's not cheap. So what I'm going to do is, since he's going to be looking into the coffers, I'm going to be digging up some of our old studies that we've done. A couple of years ago, we did studies on the body-worn cameras. We also did the studies on the dashboard cams to see if we should start at that level. So we're going to dig that up, and we're going to try and refresh that so we can try and get a true picture and a true cost of what it is today, so I can present it to the Board of County Commissioners. Now, with regards to our policies, procedures, I think they're pretty solid. We review them every year. But what I'm hearing is I potentially have some deputies that may not be following our policies and procedures. And that's what I need to know about. What I said earlier, too, is I can't fix what I don't know is broken. What was brought up earlier, we meet with the NAACP and various community members. We were doing it every month for the last 6 years. We had, because of what was going on now, we kind of had to stop the meetings. But we met every month to talk about what's going on. And this stuff wasn't being brought forward to us.
Do you think that your officers are gonna come and be like, oh, we're causing injustice, we're bullying people, we're beating them up? They're not gonna come and bring.
How would you know?
No, but I
How do we
need,
bring it to you? That's what
well,
we
that's
wanna
what
know. Who do
that's what we
communicate
said
with?
earlier. You can communicate with our internal affairs, our professional standards. Like Pam said, same thing with us. It's on our website. You could go into our districts, you could speak to one of our commanders. You can go on the website, you can fill out a citizen complaint form, and it goes right to.
That goes back to the whole thing about, like, you guys, a citizen complaint form. I've made complaints to Punta Gorda PD multiple times, 3, 4, 5 times, and I just get shut down because who calls me?
Turned
Someone
away.
from your team. Someone from your team calls me to defend the actions of an officer.
Yes.
Who shouldn't be talking to me, disrespecting me, going out of line when I'm being respectful and nothing but respectful towards them.
Okay.
That's not
Well,
right.
if
So
Outside
my
review.
question is,
If
if
you-
I go to complain to you guys, like I have to Punta Gorda PD, I have complained multiple times because I was being harassed by Punta Gorda PD. That's not right. Just for being in this neighborhood. Just for being in this neighborhood, this very neighborhood that we're in right now.
Okay, if you want to make sure that a complaint, that I see a complaint on a deputy, you can email internal affairs at ccsofl.net. I am on that email group. It goes to my internal affairs, but I see it too. And I follow up on every one of those. I ask my internal affairs investigator, what is the status of this? And I look for the documentation.
How long does it take you to look at this?
A while.
I see them immediately. As soon as the email comes in, because I have my emails on my phone, so I'm almost, unless I'm in the middle of something, I see it almost immediately.
Are those out front in the, can we have those out front in the police departments? Are they out front? Like
What out
whenever
front?
they're
The
like
compl- Yes, they are in the
with that
lobbies too.
information? Okay.
They're in the lobbies, they're on the website, you can make the phone calls to internal affairs, there's so many different ways. We got social media too, where you can get on our app and you can make a complaint.
Okay.
So there's so many different avenues to get to us.
At the same time, though, we shouldn't be subject to what the officers are doing. I shouldn't have an officer harassing me just because I'm in this neighborhood, just because I have a boyfriend who lives in this neighborhood and I'm leaving here. The amount of times I've been pulled over in the past 2 years, the amount of times just leaving this neighborhood that I've been pulled over is ridiculous.
We're here for future. They're hearing us. We're here for future.
Yeah.
That's what
And
I'm talking about.
I do know, because we've worked with Pam a few times, we've had a lot of, and you guys should know if you live in this neighborhood, we've had a lot of complaints of drugs at the Cooper Street. I don't know if you've had anything recently though, right?
We still go.
So, I mean, that's why you see some extra patrols in this
We've got
area.
competing interests here. You've got community members who call us.
To pull me over for a BS excuse every time I'm leaving here and harass me and bring the dogs out. The dogs don't hit, or they do hit, and then you search my car and you don't find nothing. I had an officer tell me that because I refused to search that if his dog scratched my brand new car, it was not his problem and he didn't care. I had an officer tell me that just based off who was in my car, oh, you could go to jail. And I said, for what? He said, for any reason. I don't know. We'll figure it out. That's not right.
Ego,
That's
superiority.
And then when I complain,
So I know that
Let me help you out.
that's where the, okay.
Hey, a lot of this stuff, guys, like, I understand, like, we got a lot of different stories we can tell. We got a lot of different stories. All right, but a lot of this stuff has been addressed. I feel you. he already said, you know what I'm saying, we got things that we're gonna do now, moving forward, you know, to address all of these things. So we don't have to hear no more stories, really.
I don't want to.
One more. She wants to tell one more story.
No.
One more. It's the last one. Only because she called me before this one to speak.
Hold
That's the
up.
only reason. Last story. Last story. I'm over
I've
stories.
been petrified to be talked about this, and I know all of you guys have mixed biracial kids. I am going to advocate on that. Y'all know me. I am Pastor Dr. Gary McNeely's daughter. I come out a little harsh, but I live in 3 different worlds. I live in the white, I live in the black, and I live in this generation of what we see in America. What I would like for everybody to do, and I've been voicing this for 36 years of my life, and I know some of you standing right in front of me have mixed kids. I want you to go home and have a deep conversation with your children about both colors. I want you to educate your kids not only on the black culture, but on the whites. I want them to know that they shouldn't be ashamed, embarrassed, humiliated, and damn sure be proud of being 2 colors. Because I, as you can tell, I got stopped by the police today. Okay, earlier.
Good stuff, bad stuff.
But let me tell you how many of the whites and how many of the blacks voice their opinion. I don't want negativity. I don't. All lives matter. Okay, all lives. But do you know how many times people on this post have negatively thought it was a racial thing? I have 2 out of 3 of my kids in the car with me. My one son, who's 15, is white skinned, but he has 25% black.
I'm sorry, I have to.
Story time's
I
up.
know, but educate your kids.
I had to take the mic. I'm sorry. Hey guys, yeah. Hey, let's hear his promise. Let's hear his promise. He has a promise. We want to hear this.
Yeah, I think everybody's done a phenomenal job here today. You guys have come together and we've gotten through some really hard stuff. And I think we're in a good, solid, positive place. I appreciate the reverends that have spoken. I appreciate the chief and the sheriff and Commissioner Truex. And some of you guys are probably saying, man, what's a guy from Northport doing down here? Well, I was speaking with Sarah over that asinine crap that was done to her. And I mean, it is despicable, despicable. And in that speech, she was telling me about this and told me that Bill was coming. And I asked her, I said, I would love to come. And I asked Bill, because I knew he was meeting with you guys ahead of time. And I said, can I come be a part of that? Because Northport has a long history with Port Charlotte. We were Northport Charlotte was who we were. We have more history with Port Charlotte really than we do with Sarasota, North Sarasota County. So our boundaries run together. I'm a rock throw away. I mean, I live as close to the boundary as I can. And so when I spoke to him, I told him that I wanted to be here because I want to be a part of this because what happens here is going to bleed into my community. I mean, you're from Northport High, right? It's going to bleed into my community, and we want the same amount of love there as what I'm seeing here today, and I appreciate you guys for that. And my commitment to you was before most of you all got here, and I gave you my number, and that's because I want you guys to call me, and I also want to get your numbers too because I think that might be good for me to do. But because we're going to sit down, I told my city manager I was coming. I told my chief of police that we were coming, Todd Garrison, and I want to get together next week with a phone call to begin a a phone call to set up a meeting so we can all come together. And I've given out several cards, and man, I would love if every one of those cards attended, and because I think it'll make a difference. Because I want to look at what we do, and I want to look at what regulations or ordinances we can put into effect that we are bound to in order to help.
I'm also from the Northport area, and
Yes,
I wanted
ma'am.
to ask you if that's something that the same thing that happened here, if we can do it in Northport as well. I'm here, like I said, because of his request.
You do whatever you want, sister. I'll be there. Just let me know.
All right, guys. How many more we got?
I really just have a community concern. If I could talk about that for a second.
I know it's really cool that we're talking about all the things that we're going to do today, and we're all going to leave here and feel great and happy about the changes that we're making. I've lived here my whole life. We need to talk about the tone in the city. It's not just what we talk about here and the changes that we say that we're going to make. Really just want to talk about something that kind of bothers me. There is a blue, green, gray lives matter posted outside of the city of Punta Gorda. That sign got put up after the 2016 Black Lives Matter first movement happened. That was the city's response to the Black Lives Matter movement, was to put up a sign.
And that's actually, that property is owned by a private individual who put that up himself.
Okay, so can we address that with somebody else? Because that's...
He can do what he wants.
He can.
That's a political statement in downtown Punta Gorda.
That is a political statement in downtown Punta Gorda. It's true. It's literally sets the tone into the city that we live. I've lived here my whole life. This is the city that I'm from. This is my town. I've been here forever. Probably gonna stay here. It's ugly. It's insensitive. It's disgusting. It really, truly is, and it needs to go.
Yeah.
It sets the tone for the entire city. As soon as you come over that bridge, it's the first thing that you see, and that's not how we want to be represented.
Yes.
That's got to go. It really has to go.
The sign, the city is changing things right now. I work for the city. The city is changing things right now on signs, and it hasn't changed yet, but even if you hate, people call about Trump 2020 signs all the time. Nothing you can do about it because it's not political. Blue Lives Matter is not political. It can't come down. Even though people hate it, there's nothing that the city can do about it. That isn't a Punta Gorda thing. That's a nationwide thing. Sign. It cannot be changed.
Question. So if that sign, if people coming over that bridge sees that sign, right, and they feel some type of way about it and decide that, let's go eat somewhere else. This is looking crazy. So now these businesses are going to lose money because they see the sign, and people are like, they don't feel comfortable coming over the bridge because they see that sign. But they can't do nothing about it. But the minute you start losing money and less people want to come into Punta Gorda because they don't feel welcome now. Or they feel like, okay, well,
but like I said,
so you're not gonna do nothing about it.
I'm not advocating for the sign. I'm just telling you, any sign can offend anybody.
Yeah.
Your Black Lives Matter sign can offend somebody. The Trump 2020 signs, Biden got signs up, but we get 3-4 emails exactly.
Just like
People
we
can
can do
put
this.
whatever they want. They can put FU on it. They can put whatever. I'm dead serious. You're laughing, but that's just what it is. The sign is, you can't do anything about the sign. But I wanted to say thank you. Thank y'all for having this. I'm glad that y'all had this. I was thinking about doing something, but actually, like seeing everything that was happening over the nation, I was scared.
Amen.
Not scared, but worried.
Yes. Amen.
Anxiety, thank you.
Amen.
No, I'm not scared. No, not scared, worried, cautious, not scared. It don't matter. But yeah, I was worried about that. When I walked up, it was like 4:40. I was kind of nervous, listening to the conversation back and forth, wondering where this was gonna go. But after a while, it kind of died down, and it was good. And I think, like I said, I work for the city, so I know a couple of officers here. I know them. I know the city manager. I wanted to say I'm glad that we're doing this. I was thinking earlier, when you get sick with the flu, something like that, they give you a Z-Pack, right? You gotta take that Z-Pack at 7 in the morning before breakfast. You gotta take it again at 7 p.m. after dinner. This is the same thing.
Right.
We can't just stop here.
Right.
Meetings, all the stuff y'all were just talking about, they gotta happen. Just like that Z-Pack. Oh, it's feeling better? Things are getting better? Stop taking your Z-Pack? No, you gotta keep taking it till you finish it.
Right.
So that's what we need to do. If y'all need me, bro, you should have called me, text me, something. And on the complaints thing, if they not listening, take down everybody's phone number here.
Yeah.
Show up at the police station.
Amen.
I'll show up with you. I'll show up. That's all I gotta say.
We're gonna have everybody re-sign. We're gonna have everybody re-sign so you can get your numbers. We only got
Everybody sign. Everybody sign. Please don't leave without signing, guys.
re-sign.
Someone will start a Facebook page.
I want to say something, guys. I don't know if a lot of you guys know this, but the original location was supposed to be at Quesada. I was actually informed by some friends of mine that were involved in law enforcement that you guys are gonna shut it down ASAP as soon as it started. I'm not sure which department it was, which office it was, you know, but that's why, you know, within 24 hours, we had somewhere to come voice, okay? So we gotta stick together. You hear me? 24 hours, 48 hours, everybody here. That's all we gotta do. People, officers, everybody. They came.
Amen.
Let's do something about this. Let's actually do something about this.
Be proactive, guys.
I think we got one more person that wants to speak, and we're done. But hey, hold on. I do want to say something else too. Where's Sheldon at?
Yeah.
Sheldon.
Yeah.
This is the only brother out of everybody here. I love all y'all, but this is the only brother out of everybody here that texted me and said, "Hey, bro, you need something? You want me to bring something? What I gotta do?" Everybody should be doing that. We all a family. We all a family. This ain't nothing but a family get together. Literally, like, it doesn't matter who you arguing with, who you don't like, who you not friends with. If grandma called that family meeting, your ass better be there. That's it. Come on, y'all. Let's get together with this, man. Everybody should be trying to throw in. I'm kind of upset. All that pizza sitting on the table and ain't nobody touched it. Golly. Hey, we finna close out in a prayer. And if y'all want to relax still and eat and drink and stuff, y'all go ahead, you know, enjoy it. This is family time, y'all. This family time now. Hold on. Hold on. Miss Laura Charles, you want to speak? Miss Charles. Miss Charles.
Hi, my name is Laura Charles. I just have a question for you guys. You were saying that they shut it down in Quesada, but isn't it the sheriff's office that monitors the city? They don't have a police department in Port Charlotte.
Yeah, Quesada is in my jurisdiction.
Right.
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah,
They don't monitor that? Who monitors it?
Who shut you down?
I'm not. Y'all think I'm gonna tell on my inside person? Hold on, I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. Yeah, an officer told me. Yes.
Oh, okay. We can make arrangements if you want to meet them. Okay. You just work with me and I'll make sure it's coming. Okay.
Yeah, because you should be able
It's county park. Communicate and make money.
I feel like
There's one more question that I want to ask to the sheriff department.
Hey guys,
I'm technically from the Port Charlotte area,
Last 5 minutes,
live in
please.
Broward County, but I'm saying I'm from the Port Charlotte area, Sarasota County as well. And I wanted to know if you all had what you call a liaison program or something you can create, like a liaison between the community, between the people and the community. That's someone that you can send into the community that can communicate with the people, especially you don't have time and you don't have time. I don't know if you remember me from Fire in the Streets, which was about 3 years ago. It was right here. I don't know if you remember that. But you guys may need to come up with maybe a liaison between, hold on, I'm not running as he is, but let me talk. You should come up with a liaison that can communicate with the people. Maybe you can come up with a position. Maybe you need several that can communicate with people that maybe you don't have time to, and I'm sure you don't have time to, but if you create some type of position where someone can comes in maybe once a month or bi-monthly or quarterly.
For 6 years, they've had it already.
Oh.
We didn't come and back them up. We've already gone over that.
So, but I just got here.
I'm answering your
Yeah.
question for you.
So,
They already
sure.
told us we have one.
You're right. We have the task force that we've dealt with, created with the NAACP and a lot of other community groups, which is an avenue for you to communicate with us. But on top of that, stuff that we do on a daily basis is we have community policing officers. And they go into the neighborhoods and they meet with the homeowners associations, they meet with the neighborhood watch groups, and they share information. What's going on in the neighborhood, what's going on with law enforcement. We also tell you some of the issues that we're dealing with within the neighborhood, so we try and collaborate. So if you guys have like a neighbor group that you want to get together and have a meeting, you just need to reach out to our intelligence division, that's where my community service falls under, and say that we would like a community policing officer to attend our meeting, and we will have somebody there.
Or you may need to change whoever's doing it, because it's obviously not working, so you may need to change something up.
Well, it also could be that you guys are having community meetings that we don't know
being
about.
heard.
Because there's community meetings all over the place, every month, every day. So it's possible we don't know about the meetings that if you guys are having them. So if I know the dates and times, we can schedule somebody to be there. Well, I just need to know when the meetings are. If you guys are holding a meeting, I could schedule somebody to be there.
But this would be with the more millennial generation, because.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, they're saying it's not the millennial generation, right?
Some was mentioned when I received the phone call about this conversation with Bill here. It was said that they were going to reach out to the leaders of the community, which were, and I think we already came up with ways to do that. You know, I'll be that gateway if need be, or whatever the case is. But
Something to communicate with the younger generation.
well, I have everybody's information.
No, Sheriff Bill said that, they miss out on the events because they don't get the information.
Yeah.
So if you have an email,
And I can, yeah,
him,
portray
you
that.
can notify him, and that way they know.
All right. One more question. And then we're gonna pray. Somebody else? Somebody else's feelings might be hurt if they. Damn, I can practice. Two more.
I just wanted to know about, because I remember when I was a kid, PAL was really popular, and it was a way for our youth to interact with the police department. And when I grew up and I was part of the program, I had a really positive experience with the police department. But my son, anytime he sees a police officer, he's like, no, they're gonna arrest me. So I don't know if the program is still going on, but maybe some advertisement, to, bring some attention to these programs, so that way the kids, the youth, the people that y'all want us to start educating at home can start to see the police department in a positive manner, and we can continue that relationship.
So I can talk on that real quick. So the Punta Gorda Police Department still has our Jammers program. Has anybody here participated in that ever? Yeah. Never heard it? It's a basketball program. It's kids probably ages, mostly middle school kids. And it's a free program over the summer where we let them come in. We have sponsors, provide them with the uniforms, and they get to practice during the week and have games on the weekends. We had to suspend it this time because of the COVID-19. Because it usually starts right about now, and unfortunately we had to put that off. But we're also putting together a youth academy that was supposed to happen this year as well, and of course, everything. But so we do have a program where we do some outreach. And
All right, last one. I swear to God. For real. Last one. I swear to God. I don't care who getting their feelings hurt. That's it.
I just want to say, sometimes we need to, work on how we react when we feel disrespected. Press forward, keep pushing. Sarah, in your case, documentation is everything. Document it. In the community, we close knit. We'll get behind you.
Amen.
We'll get behind you. Also, guys, invest in yourself. Invest in yourself. It's scary sitting here listening to everybody talk and hear that there's no cameras from Tampa down south. That's scary. Invest. Put cameras on your car. Protect yourself. Put cameras on your car. Invest in yourself. Invest in yourself. Invest in yourself. That way, you guys can document. You guys don't got to worry about storage because you're just going to have your own storage. Protect yourself. Always cover your back. Watch your back, And that's all I wanted to say. Just invest in yourself.
That's it. All right,
Thank you.
Bow your heads, we finna pray.
Okay. I'm down with that. Touch somebody.
Please stand if it's possible.
Hey, Corona, touch somebody.
You got sanitizer.
Yeah, okay, we got hands.
Let us pray. Let us pray. Dear God, the God of the universe, as we leave this meeting, as we leave this mountaintop experience, we wish to pause and acknowledge your sovereignty. You are the God of this community, this county, this city. You're the God of the state. You're the God of the universe. It is in you that we live, we move, and have our being. We thank you for the efforts of Brother Javon and his committee. We ask, oh God, that you build him up on every side. Plant a hedge of protection around him so that the enemy may see him, will not be able to touch him. We thank you for that in advance. We even pause and pray for the sheriff. We ask that you empower him, endow him with the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding to exemplify that which is expected of you and the people he is to protect. Keep him protected. We pray this prayer even for his entire family and for every deputy that serve at the agency of this county sheriff's department. We pray for the chief of the police department of Punta Gorda. We pray, oh God, the same for her and every single one of her constituents. We thank you now in advance. We thank you now for raising our level of consciousness, our level of awareness, to understand that it takes all of us, oh God, to cause this change to take place and to change the trajectory of our futures. We pray now that when we meet again, we will have good reports. We will have exciting news, no bad news to bring, no sad songs to sing. We even pause now and pray for the family of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, even Ahmaud. Oh God, we pray for their families. Console them, comfort them, and even the unknown that has suffered terrible deaths. We pray for those families. And now, oh God, as we prepare to feast together, as we prepare to further personal dialogues among each other, we pray now, oh God, that you will bless the food that we are about to partake of as we receive it with the spirit of unity, the spirit of strength, and the spirit of love. This we pray. Every heart say amen.
Amen. Hey, I appreciate y'all coming out. I appreciate y'all staying calm. I appreciate the progress, y'all. Thank you. Thank you.